Yeah, that's right. We're back for a club condo, and we are just under 48 hours away from finding out the winner of Survivor 47. I'm Rob Cesternino, back here for all the fun in the world of Survivor here with my co-host. Bring him to the final three. It's Chappell.
Hey, what's up, Rob? We're almost to the second half of the finale. We started
Almost half intermission.
Yeah, a little breakity break until we come back and find out who's
It's like
going
we
to
went
win.
to go see Wicked.
Right, and then we have to wait a whole entire year to see the rest of Wicked. But I feel like maybe this is a little bit more like Wicked than we expected, because it feels like everybody's kind of already decided how this ends. We already know how Wicked ends. I mean, I think you could Google it, but
Yeah.
I think right now everyone's kind of talking about this finale as we're just gonna get to the rest of the Rachel win, and I want to talk that through with you today.
But Chappell, did anybody do any sort of like redub of Wicked with Genevieve and Rachel when they're talking about that they're the two people that can't get along?
Oh, I'm Glenda. I'm Elphaba. Whatever. I don't know. I saw the song on Instagram. That's a thing people do. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it's out there.
If anybody knows, it's this man, of course. He's one half of the Survivor B&B, of course. You know him from his work covering Survivor, Parade.com, of course. The guy who knows everything,
yes,
Mike Bloom.
Rob, that is one of the nicest compliments you've ever paid me.
I mean, Chappell, do you know anybody that knows more things than Mike Bloom?
If Mike
not
Bloom
important things.
You're literally a know-it-all, and you're saying I know everything?
No.
Yeah.
If Mike Bloom ever went on the show The Floor, they would have to cancel the show and just
cancel
name it
the
Mike
show.
Bloom. Yeah, like stop.
Well, I think they have to cancel it for a number of reasons. Yeah, I definitely would be canceling that show.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
Mike,
to answer this question, of course, because I've been chomping at the bit. So 100% Rachel is Galinda. She dropped the A in the form of Annika, and then really assumed that identity. And Genevieve is Elphaba, right? It's this idea that initially she has this hardened exterior. You take a look at her on the outside and you're like, wow, she presents this very stately presence, is able to make a lot of magic happen, but you explore a little bit more of her behind the scenes and underneath that green skin, perhaps that purple edit. There's a human underneath.
Wow.
And, we'll be ending this season quite literally for good next week. And unfortunately, they're not endgame material.
Okay. All right. Mike, so nice to have you here, of course, for our traditional pre-finale podcast as we are ready to go. How are you feeling going into the Survivor 47 finale?
It's really interesting because, of course, this is a time, as is usually the case with the end of the year anyway, to kind of take a look back at what we've been experiencing for the past now 13 weeks with this extra week added on. And there's always also been a lot of discourse, especially now that we're nearing the end of the season. And to Chappell's point, we're starting to, some of us at least, put the cart before the horse and say, like, all right, when Rachel wins, how do we look back on her victory on this season? And it's really interesting comparing this to the other season we got in 2024. First off, I will say, low-key, and maybe this is setting up for a podcast we'll do in the winter off-season of 2024 might be one of the best calendar year for Survivor seasons in recent memory. I mean, listen, we've got 46, 47, and Australian Survivor Titans v Rebels. That's tough to beat in the 2020s, at least.
We ate this year, Chappell.
Yeah, feasted even. I'm very excited to talk about this year in Survivor because everything Mike is talking about is true. So the Australian Survivor, I didn't even watch Australian Survivor, and everyone was talking about it so much. I was like, okay, I gotta check it out. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And you would think those highs would be so hard to reach. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if they were all reached to here, but we definitely have some great editing in season 47 that made you say, man. It's like they looked at Survivor and said, we've been doing the same thing for so long. If we switch it up in just these little small parts, then we could do all this other good stuff with it and make some great TV. The editing has been crazy. The flashbacks, the different scenes where they're like thinking back to other people and who we haven't seen. Kashan's all over the season. It's crazy. They did it. And I've been just enjoying them having fun with the show and what it could be, because we like the Survivor strategy. That's why we come to watch the show, but make it interesting. And I think they've done a really good job this year.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's what's been so interesting to me, is really comparing these two seasons. Obviously, I think people are going to have their preferences as to whether they enjoy the more character, drama, humor-filled stuff in season 46, or whether you enjoy maybe some of the more complicated strategy-forward stuff in season 47. I say this with no maligning towards season 46, but also I don't think it's completely out of pocket to say that I think season 47 has had an accelerated level of gameplay beyond not only season 46, but maybe anything we had seen in the new era. And I think it's almost like when we had another great calendar year of Survivor, which was Co-Wrong and Millennials versus Gen X in the same season, actually, where it was like, here is this wacky, over the top, I can't believe this just happened Survivor season that feels like a fever dream. In fact, some people passed out from fever in the process. And then here's this like more nuanced, very three-dimensional tackling of human dynamics and big strategic complexity is contained there. And it's almost like choosing for me between like chocolate and candy versus what your sweets are. But I also do wonder when it comes to season 47, because I've been reviewing my notes. Rob, I know you rewatched the premiere in anticipation for this week. I wonder if seasons like Survivor 46 are kind of remembered as a whole. I wonder if we're going to look back on Survivor 47 as the sum of its parts, where I was looking through all the stuff that happened. A lot of stuff happened in Survivor 47, stuff that I forgot about. Remember the Survivor Social Hour, where they like did a half mergatory and then they did the actual not mergatory in the very next round? Remember things like, remember when John Lovett, hit podcaster extraordinaire, was on the show for 3 days, a month before the election came out? That feels, for some reason, ages ago, because I think that we've seen these characters and storylines kind of come in fits and starts. And getting to remember back through this season as sort of a catalog of moments has been a really interesting way of processing the story as compared to 46 or 45, which I feel were a little bit more cohesive.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I wonder if that ties into our discussion of like how this season comes to an end, because it does feel like that we are headed towards a Rachel win coming up on Wednesday night. I think that probably just about any fan feels like that's the most likely scenario. And of course, things can happen, and people that we thought were likely winners didn't end up winning, but that's how it seems like it's going. One of the things I had said that I had wanted to do coming into this podcast tonight was I had wanted to go back and watch the premiere of Survivor.
Is that because
47.
of the name drop of the podcast? Which also, remember when that happened? Remember when Rob the podcast was sad on national television?
Remember Asia?
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
do
God.
remember that happened, but no, it was not to go back and hear the words Rob's podcast said on Survivor by Asia.
I mean, but it was so
It
cool
did
that it
happen.
happened, Rob. It was cool
It
that
was
it
a little
happened, Rob.
jarring that I was like, oh yeah, remember this? This happened.
That it happened. That's the thing. When the season started off, we had such high hopes for the season because we had our people on there, Andy's on there, Asia's on there. There's that RHAP on the show. We're like, what is this? What are we doing? And then it just evolves into something that I don't think any of us could have foreseen happen. I mean, even they cut Asia, her story time short here on Survivor 47. And I thought, I'm not gonna like this. I can't watch this season again. I legit was like, if I ever watch the episode again, it'll be too soon. Like it's not happening. But now I'm like, man, this season is actually really good. And I feel like you had to get rid of Asia in order to let these other people kind of flourish.
Other people breathe.
Yeah, because she would have just
thank you,
sucked up all the
Lavo.
air.
Get off their neck. Asia.
Her power, because it would have been the story of RHAP all season, but instead we got so many other compelling stories as well. I think Mike's right. This one's gonna go down in the books for like why Survivor is so great. I've seen people talking about Survivor 47 that I've never seen talking about Survivor before. I didn't know anybody was like the people outside this community. They're just like, hey, have you seen the Survivor show? This is so good.
Yeah,
This is the perfect time to jump in.
My new motion on Blue Sky that everyone can join me in on is trying to bully Alan Sepinwall into catching up on Survivor.
Wow.
He randomly responded to a post that maybe we'll get into later on in this podcast. He's like, I haven't watched since Heroes versus Villains. And I'm like, wonder if we could try to get Alan Sepinwall to watch 27 plus seasons of Survivor.
Well, I think the move would be this would be the pitch. And of course, big Sepinwall head myself, get him to watch one season. have to watch catch up on one season. Isn't that
47?
Yeah, as opposed to watch 27 seasons and check in to hear where from coming in from 20 to now.
Oh yeah. I mean,
that
think about
seems
it.
Good. That's a good one.
If we make a binge, we might lose them at One World. We might lose them at Redemption Island. There's a few.
I don't know.
moments.
This man's been hardened in the trenches of watching bad television for decades at this point. Although One World didn't hurt anybody.
It hurt me. He complains about good TV, Mike. He complains about good TV. Imagine what he's gonna say when he runs into Island of the Idols or Edge of Extinction. The man he's gonna riot. He's never gonna get to the 40s. Jump right in at 47, Alan. Come join us. Come join the party. It's a good time.
Okay, well, going back to the beginning of Survivor 47, I had a couple of interesting takeaways from my rewatch. I teased this in a podcast that I did over the weekend with Drew Basile. That was a great podcast. A lot of nice feedback that came in on that one. If you have not heard that podcast yet. But I was really interested because I have been thinking about this I feel like that Rachel, the player, we have come to know well in the post-merge game. But Rachel, the person, Mike, I feel like has been very underdefined by the show.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't know if that should necessarily be in a feather in a cap of, she's not going to win at this point. Because even looking at last season, I mean, Kenzie's sort of like tragic backstory of that she has basically been a hustler since she was 18 years old also didn't come up for the finale.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also could have arguably either been something extraneous or they had to put it in because that was a large key indicator as to why certain people gave her the win. So I don't think it's necessarily something to write her off entirely. I mean, I would also say even Sam gets a little bit of stuff at the beginning with the glue guy in the premiere, but for all we know, it could happen, later on that Rachel talks about, I think, growing up in Beijing, I think, with her family or something like that. She told me in the preseason that we'll just have.
I was going to say, I missed that episode.
We got 2 hours in the finale. We got plenty of time for it.
Okay, so let me go say I went back and I watched this, and in the new era in particular, and I think really through all the seasons, the winner is always present in either the confessionals that happen on the way into the show. And we heard in going back, I was paying very close attention to this. We hear voiceover at the start of the season. I think Gabe gets the first voiceover. You don't see his face, but he says that he wants to be one of the faces on the Mount Rushmore of the new era. I think you hear Asia talking about she's going to forge her new path. And then we cut to, then we see people on the boat. The first confessional we see of the people coming in on the boat, Chappell, is Sam. I'm going to be a wolf in wolf's clothing out here.
And I said at the time, that's a winner quote. That's a winner quote, and I think he's not wrong. I think, for us, people are starting to say, well, what has Sam really done? Since the merge, since he loses Sierra, what has he actually accomplished prior to Operation Italy, of course? And you can give a lot of that credit to Andy, but that's the thing. They're still saying he's a threat because he's a wolf in wolf's clothing. He cannot walk around and not be a threat. So I think you're right. There are definitely some winner quotes and some things that we learned about Sam and some of these other people that we just haven't learned about Rachel. But to Mike's point, we got another 2 hours of finale.
Well, let me just make my point about the premiere because the winners and I didn't double check this on Kenzie in season 46, but the winners we tend to see them early, and I can't recall a time when we don't see the winner early. Now again, maybe this is the first time that they're changing up the meta. We get a confessional from Sue that she's going to win the game.
I love this one. This is going to be very fun.
I'm 59. And she's going to get to the end and say, I'm 59 and I beat all your asses. Could be foreshadowing for Wednesday.
And I would love to see the reaction to that because I do not think it will be the one that she was intending when she said that 26 days ago.
Okay.
No, not at all.
But
go ahead.
Then we get to that on the mat, okay? And this is this is where even Gabler is talking about we birthed the...
Yeah, when my kids hatched, they were watching Survivor.
Right. Even Gabler, we heard Matt chat from Gabler to open things up. And we hear on the mat, Jeff talks to Gabe. He's a grinder man. Jeff talks to Teeny about Teeny's clothes. Jeff talks to Andy about how Andy was a poser and is afraid of weed. And we talk to John Lovett. Rachel is not heard. Rachel does not get a confessional until after the challenge, where Rachel talks about how says that it was the best moment of her life and talks about how it was a group effort winning the challenge. So we do not hear from Rachel until, probably about like 30 minutes into the premiere.
I hear you. And I think that, to me, that's less of an indicator than what you've been saying on past podcasts. It was that we don't know anything about Rachel. Like the premiere is one thing, because had Genevieve been in the Rachel spot, no one would be saying, oh, well, I don't think Genevieve's going to win because we didn't hear from her. But Genevieve was people's winner's pick after episode 3 or 4, but in episode 1, I don't even think she gets a confessional. Episode 2, she might have been a confessional. Yeah, maybe 1, what I'm saying? Like we know nothing about Genevieve through a few episodes. I think for me, it's not less about the amount of content Rachel got, and there's no personal content. Mike was talking about just now, that Rachel, grew up in Beijing or whatever. Let me
clarify. Bangkok. She said that she was born in Thailand.
Oh, in Thailand. Okay, cool. So in Thailand, but he learned that in the preseason. But since then, we know that Sam was a theater guy. He's a glue guy. He was prom king. He's got a girlfriend at home. Sue, we know that she's a grandma. She lied about her age. We know these things. I don't know what Rachel's personality identifiers are as far as the show is concerned. And I think that they've probably done her a disjustice as far as or injustice, I guess, as far as not really highlighting who she is as a person. They have 2 hours to do it. And if she's going to win, I think these next 2 hours are going to be a coronation. But you have a really good point there, Robin, that if you have a winner, especially a winner who's going to be as dynamic as a character or a player, at least like Rachel in this end game, you would think you would at least kind of introduce them in the first, minutes of the game and not just have them talking about a challenge. So there's good points there.
To be fair, yes, maybe in the first act, it isn't necessarily hugely Rachel heavy, but by the end of the episode, and what I think is so interesting about that premiere is how centric her character is already around the person that we are just going to have talked about had idled out of this game in the form of Andy. I think, especially watching the premiere, it is so interesting to see this interaction take place 20 days apart of Andy pulling Rachel aside and just info dumping a bunch of stuff to her, that in both cases, she pretty much is like, yeah, I don't know about this, dude. Yeah. You're giving me way too much at the moment. But I feel like, while yes, maybe from a first impressions perspective, quite literally from the first 15 minutes, it might be a little light on that. I still think that when you have a 2-hour episode, there was plenty of stuff baked in there that I didn't necessarily want to hang my hat on, the first flashy stuff that they say in the moment.
Yeah. And I'm not saying this to say that Rachel won't win or making a prediction. I'm just saying that the one thing that's giving me pause about saying that 100% Rachel is winning is just the fact that, we have not gotten her personal story too much. And she doesn't really get a moment in the opening of the show. And again, maybe the Survivor editors are playing with us and they're trying to, stay ahead of the game. And maybe that's the reason why they don't do this. I'm not sure if Kenzie got something in the beginning of Survivor 46. I'd have to go back and look at that.
She got the confessional before the marooning of I've got my heels, the club's opening up, I'm ready to giddy up.
Okay.
Yeah, Club Condo. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't confirm. I can't confirm that Erica had something in Survivor 41. I believe she did. In watching all these 40 seasons, Chappell, when we did the countdown, everybody has gets that. Every winner gets that.
Famously, except Tina.
Sure,
but it's been a while.
Did Dee get a confessional in that first act of 45?
I think Dee was talking about her toes. Was that the first act?
No, that was episode 2.
That's like an episode. Okay. Yeah, we'd have to go back and clock it. Yeah.
Let's look, but I'd be okay with that. I think for next Club Condo, I might go and take a look at some of these premiere episodes and see exactly what they're doing. But by then, we'll know the outcome. Rob, I love Rachel as a game player. She's so fun. She's so rootable. But I will stand here in the minority and say, I am rooting against Rachel. I am a Sam guy. I am a glue guy. And as far as I'm concerned, Rachel winning this season means Shannon wins the draft. And I just cannot have that. I need this snatched from her clutches at the last second. And Sam, do what you got to do. take her out.
I mean, she
Give me
wouldn't be a
this.
Cirie fan if, much like Cirie, she falls like mercilessly short at the end of
Yeah.
just when she thinks it's right in her grasp.
Yeah. I need it. I need it. Because Shannon been talking mad trash, y'all. That's the problem. See, that's the thing. I get in the comments sometimes of the draft, and you always hear, like, why are y'all so mean to Shannon? Meanwhile, we're all complimenting each other, and Shannon's like, no, this is a game. We're all against each other. I'm like, she's mean to us. So look, she comes up with this idea for us to do the draft check-in. This was completely her idea because she's been reading the edit. She knows, like, Rachel's getting some content. She thinks she has the winner. It would be so delicious if Shannon loses, and I will be the loudest and the proud. Y'all will be unbearable, Rob. You're gonna have to shut me down, man, because I'm going. She ain't even gonna show up for the next draft.
What will you do? What will you do?
I'm just gonna have to remind everybody that Shannon would be the only person of 7 people who have not won a 6-person draft. You know, that would be incredible. And I just think that that's hilarious. I would have to continually remind her every time because she takes no hesitation in reminding us about average draft placement, about her spreadsheets. She made me late the other day. We were on that. Look, it's like, Shannon, hey, go ahead and lose so I can throw this in your face. So yeah, now this is officially Sam and Chappell versus Shannon and Rachel.
Oh,
Okay.
I like
Mike,
this.
how do you see it playing out?
I mean,
have you made an official prediction?
I have not. I mean, you know, I always have a tough time wanting to put a chalk pick in there because also to Chappell's point, even outside of the proxy battle that apparently him and Shannon are engaging here, that Rachel and Sam are part of this human chess set, despite the fact that they played out 8 months before all this is actually playing out with these 2 random podcasters. You know, you never exactly want to see root for like the most boring outcome. Sometimes you want to when you see people play this like incredibly dominant game. Like I was certainly rooting for Boston Rob and Redemption Island because we had never seen a returning player win the game before against a cast of newbies. I was rooting for Kim Spradlin just because, again, she had played this rather unprecedented game, especially for a women winner. And so I always loved the mess and the drama. I say that before we reopen the Pandora's box for the second time in 2024 about, the Survivor season had the wrong outcome at the end of the day. But I'm all for unpredictability. I'm all for an entertaining 2-hour episode. And that's what's also going to make it tough as well. I guess it is sort of win-win in that if it is a rather rote outcome, it will feel certainly deserved to a certain extent. And it'll also be like kind of ripping the Band-Aid off of like, okay, well, at least we don't have to sit there for a full 3-hour period. But on the other hand, if all hell breaks loose, that's also going to make for a pretty exciting talk as well when all is said and done.
Yeah, I think that Rachel is very likely to win, but I think how we get there is going to be pretty interesting. I think specifically who is going to be taking on whom in the fire, I think is the most interesting thing going into this finale. How do you see it, Mike?
Well, I'm trying to think about now. Again, I think that 46 threw out a lot in terms of how we can prognosticate between who's going to win the final immunity challenge because sleep-deprived Ben was able to take advantage of the concentration challenge.
It's typically, the weirdest possible outcome that wins these Final Four immunity challenges in the new era. It's been happening a lot.
And this one is actually taking a bit of a deviation from like the typical stand in one place and do one thing like we typically get in the final immunity challenges. There seems to be some sort of obstacles that they're going through. So that could just be a formality for what we got in the Final 5 challenge when it was like, here's the typical stacking bowls and balls, but with extra steps for some reason of go through some sand and just get yourself covered. And so who knows what's going to happen with that? We don't know what's going to happen with the jury vote like we might think. But again, 46 proved to us that we know damn all about the way some of these people might vote sometimes. But yeah, when it comes to the fire making itself, because if Rachel wins, then it'll kind of just be a matter of people trying to kind of catch up to that position by being like, all right, let me throw myself in there so that I at least have some little final thing, a little final punctuation mark at the end of my sentence that I can claim on day 26. And then if Rachel loses, I think it will very easily become a season 43 redux of, okay, listen, I want to go in there. I want to be the one to say that I defeated the person that I just called the biggest threat in the game 2 days ago before she saved herself with an idol. I'm here to finally sign that death warrant.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Sam and you win the last immunity, and you're like, okay, I gotta beat Rachel. Rachel is the big bad here. like, how do you look at Teenie and be like, all right, Teenie, this is your chance. You know, take out Rachel. It's like, give me the ball. You know, let me shoot the shot here. You know, maybe you look at Sue. She's always covered in soot, and so maybe that she's a fire tender of her own. But I think whoever this is, has to be looking at Rachel as like, I have to be the one to slay the dragon. Now, if Rachel wins final immunity, then there's no suspense here at all. So yeah, we're hoping that.
I disagree.
Oh, you think she might throw herself into fire?
I think that she has a big decision to make. I think if she wins the final immunity challenge.
For me, I don't think it's that big of a decision. So for me, I think that after we saw in this last episode, Rachel's funeral, where all of these people that we're talking about, including Genevieve, who is now gone, they all sit around and just talk about how great Rachel is. This is one of the best moves in Survivor history, is having all of your competitors talk about how you should be the winner of the game if they can't get you out. They're sitting around in circle going, yeah, it's got to be her because none of us can beat her. None of us can do anything about it. Look at her. She's amazing. She can do anything. And then she stuck around. I'm not dead yet, she said. You know, it's like, damn. Now how you get to the final tribal council? Yeah. And now how do you get to the final tribal council? It's like, no, it should be me. It's like, really? Because just a day ago, literally a day and a half ago, you said it was definitely going to be her and y'all were voting her out because it was going to be her. So for me, I'm like, Rachel, you've done enough. You know, win your challenge and rest. You're breaking a record even if you win that last challenge, right?
She tied the record.
Yeah, she tied Kyle.
I thought she was breaking the women's record.
She would tie the women's record.
Too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So she's tying a record even. I think that's another feather in your cap. Now, you can argue against it, but I think it'd be really hard.
Well, what do you think she does? If so, she has to bring somebody to the finals, and she has to put two people into the fire.
I just feel like, man, I don't know. I mean, because the idea that you bring Teenie is like too obvious, but like because you kind of want your goat sitting next to you a little bit, and I don't think Teenie's getting any votes over Rachel.
And also, if Rachel feels like her ideal outcome is Teenie and Sue, then you send Sue in as the ringer to take out Sam, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I do wonder, though. I talked this through on the podcast with Drew. I think that's actually the wrong way to play it. I think that the right move for Rachel, I think, bring Sam to the finals. Bring him. Let him sit next to you, because if you let him make that we've seen some juries do some weird stuff. They watch a person make a fire, and now all of a sudden Sam, the wolf in wolf's clothing, he was such a big threat. How is he still here? And then he makes that fire in front of the jury. It could get tight. Rachel versus Sam, where Sam makes the fire in front of the jury. I think you bring him, and that's what Dee did back with, she went to the finals. She said, I'm taking Austin. Austin wanted to make the fire. She didn't give him that chance and ends up winning the game. And I think that's the best move for Rachel going into this Final Four.
I push back against that a little bit, because when you have Austin, who is like in lockstep with Dee the entire time, who is like, I need to beat you, so I need to do a thing that will allow me to show that I'm a little bit better than you. I'm like, that makes sense for Austin and Dee. And then last season, you get Maria being like, when I saw the fire in Kenzie's eye, we're like, boo, Maria, boo, boo, boo. But this
after
season,
20 minutes, when she finally made that fire.
Yeah, like I saw her. It took a long time, but I finally saw some fire in her eyes, and damn it, that won my vote. But I think this season it's Sam who's already identified that you are the one who knocks, right? Genevieve and Rachel are sitting next to each other in front of these people in this episode going, we the best. We just the best. So if Sam takes out Teenie, okay. If Sam takes out Sue, and it's like, they weren't getting no votes, no way. It's like no disrespect. I think Sue played a really strong game, and I think Teenie stuck it out, survived. But at the same time, I don't know if beating one of those people is enough for you to be like, now look at me, I slayed the dragon, when the dragon is sitting right next to you.
Now, but there is an interesting idea brought up, Chappell, with a bit of jury management here, and maybe, it could bite her the way it did Andy. But someone like Sue, if she's sitting on a jury, she owes a lot to Rachel. There was that scene where Rachel finds Sue frantic at the well, willing to dig her way to China and then sub, and be like, Sue, it's okay. It's okay. I have an idol, just so you know. And that, in my opinion, might have been one of the best moves she made in this episode, that included her playing an idol to save herself, getting rid of Andy, winning a clutch immunity challenge, because she locked in Sue as her forever vote, including if Sue ever sat on that jury as well. Maybe there's a little bit of mental calculus to be done as to if I sit next to somebody like Sue, there's a good chance I'm going to get more jury votes than her. But what if I were to send her to the jury as a guaranteed vote for me over someone like Sam?
Be nice. I just don't think like Rachel should be that threatened by the fire. Now, of course, I could be wrong. Like Rob said, we have seen wackier things happen when it comes to the fire. And I think for me, if I'm Rachel, I'm like, I just need to get there. All these people already said it. When I get to the final tribal council, I'm just gonna repeat everything Ye said. Hey guys, remember all the people who said I was that great? Guess what? They let me get to the end. Now shower me with praise and give me all your votes. And Sam's like, but I slayed Sue. It's like, yay. It's like when Sue played her idol.
Yeah,
People
but
were like,
I don't
woo.
think that's what he would say. I think that he would talk about how, in the beginning of the game that he was really the person who was out in front, and he, like Rachel, was able to hide behind him. I think he could talk about Operation Italy, which was a move that he came up with. With
and he's
Andy
the only
Genevieve,
representative left as well from that.
They blindsided Rachel. And it's only because that Rachel played an idol that they were able to get him out, and that he was, played a different kind of game. He has a couple of friends on the jury also that could potentially go his way. So
yeah,
I
don't think he's drawing dead. I don't think he's drawing dead. So,
his best case scenario is winning the Final Four immunity and beating Rachel in the fire. That's what he needs to do.
I do feel Rachel going into fire making in a couple of ways. Maybe because I'd be rooting for what would honestly be like the I guess the Lions versus Bills on paper of like the Super Bowl matchup of fire makers, which would be Rachel versus Sue. Like, we hear how Rachel is so good at fire. We now know the origin story of Sue's orphan, soot-covered face. So it'd be really fun to see if any of them could break Heidi's record. And then Rachel versus Sam, and a dynamic that I really forgot about until I was reading back through my notes and kind of relitigating these episodes, is this Rachel-Sam dynamic, which isn't as complicated as the Rachel-Andy dynamic, was not so based from the beginning as it was with Andy. But like, there was that part of the post-merge where they went on a reward together with Kyle, and they outright have a conversation where they're like, I want to work with you. I don't know if I can, because you kind of blew up my spot the millisecond after I told you not to. And so that might mean they face off against each other in fire, or it might mean they face off against each other in the final three.
Not to mention, they're also part of, like, I think that what might be like the biggest like sliding doors moment of the game to look back on, of that Sam and Sierra deciding to keep Andy over Annika, and what this game looks like if Annika makes it to the merge and Andy is out before the merge. I think is a very different game also. So it's I love that moment in the episode where it was Andy and Sam and Rachel on the beach talking about how look at us, Rachel's immune, either Sam or Andy is going to go home in that episode. And it was very fun in terms of like where we started this season.
My favorite sliding doors moment is Rachel. The thing that kind of popped off her, her winter run is that whole Saul advantage, that she gets, because that could have very well, first of all, she was swap screwed anyway, so she shouldn't have been over there with all those people anyway. But the fact that she was, and Saul looked at it and saved her, gave her a new life in the game in a way that we know that Tiana was not going home. Everybody, all the Blues have said like Tiana was fine. It was going to be Rachel if Rachel had not left. Now we can believe them. They didn't say it in the moment. We got the will they, won't they in the moment, but they're all saying like, nah, this would have been the Rachel. This would have been the end of Rachel's game if it wasn't for Saul. So it's like, had that swap been different, had Saul not had that advantage and Tiana was still there, like, what are we even looking at as an end game? Do the 5 Tukus run, make a deeper run? Is Gabe now on the Mount Rushmore? I think this season gave us so much to talk about, and just in the what if category, that's another reason why it's going to age really well.
So let's talk about Rachel here, whether in retrospect of her win or not, because I know that Survivor social media has not been nearly as buzzing as it did earlier in this year, but we got a little bit of a hit, did we not? With one particular runner-up decided to run it up in these Survivor social media streets by making a rather bold declaration. Of course, one Dominic Abate, friend of the podcast, to the point where I believe he was putting out the call to be on the podcast, makes a rather bold claim about Rachel's game.
Dom went to Twitter and said, if Rachel wins, I will go on RHAP to defend my claim that her game is the greatest ever played. I realize that many of you disagree, so I'm asking you to list 3 players who did it better so that I can debate the comparisons. And I think somewhere along the way, I think that Shannon, ironically, came up as the person who was going to be debating Dom Abate.
Wait,
about
what?
this.
Nobody said that was happening.
This
Nobody
is
signed off
like
on that.
the Survivor Lincoln Douglas debate of like, these are
Yes,
the
and
ideals these two people
ironically,
stand for.
Rachel, who might help Shannon get over the draft hump that Shannon, I think, was involved in. I don't want to misquote, but I think that Shannon was going to, or at least was being recruited to debate against Dom.
Yeah. Look, we have another club condo after the season is over. Maybe Dom is our after the finale guest to come and talk about Rachel's either win or her untimely demise. But this is a bold claim. This is a bold claim.
In true poker player fashion, he's going all in here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we respect that, Rob. You love a good hot take.
I love a good hot take, and this is extremely spicy. Did Rachel play the greatest game ever played? Is that including international Survivor as well, Mike?
No, absolutely not. Do you think Dominic Abate knows who a David Shedid is until he watches Deal or No Deal
Mike,
Island?
in your estimation, who has played the greatest U.S. Survivor game ever played?
Ooh.
Can I answer that question with another question?
Yes.
Because I was thinking about like to sort of figuratively answer Dom's question. Okay, if Rachel is not the greatest game ever played, then what else can we assign? Is she the blank game ever played? Let me try to fit this to another type of superlative here.
Yeah, by the way, we have a whole Survivor superlative segment coming up here later on in this show, so don't go anywhere.
There we go. Love that quick teaser. Is Rachel's game one of the most entertaining in the new era that we have ever seen? So not necessarily from like a best quality, because what it is for me, Vince Gilligan, when he talked about writing Breaking Bad, always spoke about the process and that they were never necessarily writing for like an end goal for the season or for a character. It was almost always like, all right, let's purposely write our way into a corner.
Well, we should bring this up on the Alan Sepinwall podcast.
Exactly. I'm just trying to like really give him the sound clip to send to him directly. And then let's try to write our way out of it. Let's try to figure out some way to get that character out of this situation. And that's kind of has been Rachel's story since that moment you were mentioning, Chappell. And even before that with the Annika vote, you would say that like she is fairly dead to rights. But what has been so interesting about her game is this variability. And no matter what you might ascribe to Rachel's game, it is certainly not the one that she wanted to play. And I actually think her skill set kind of outkicks the stuff she has been forced to do in this game, namely win immunities and play idols, which I know has been a big fact of discourse over this past week as to, oh, Rachel should be comparable to this person because she only benefited from luck or she only benefited from this stuff. Obviously, I think it's far more nuanced than that. But as much as I say that Survivor 47 has not necessarily been one of like hugely consistent macro storylines, one of them arguably for the past 2 months has kind of been coming in every week, Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and being like, how's Rachel going to get out of this one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been a really entertaining thing for me to watch. That is a very different game than anyone has played in the new era so far.
So I think I would put a little bit of a spin on that, because when you say the most entertaining game, that to me, I feel like that Rachel is like cracking one-liners in the confessionals, and I feel like that's not exactly her game. But how would you feel about the word resilient?
Oh, resilient is good.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, entertaining is kind of, I would have probably put some pause on that too, just because when I think about the moments of this season, Rachel is a big part of a lot of the moments in the season. But, I think Sam backstage saying crafty. Crafty is another good one. But yeah.
But, actually, I'll change your word, Rob. Resourceful.
Okay. Resourceful, yeah, that's a good one. Because and Shannon even tweeted a few days ago, like the best underdog game that we've seen in a while, right? Because it's like, yeah, Rachel, a lot of these times is not actually doing the thing that is getting Rachel through, but she's getting through. Like if I was talking about entertaining games, Andy's game is more entertaining to me than Rachel's.
Oh, I mean, but also most entertaining games, like put like Broccoli Brad up there, even some of those more short-term players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like where you're like coming in every week, you're like, what is going on? What is this person doing? Like even honestly, Teeny's game. I mean, it's been ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster. Rachel's game has been very much resourceful. It's been an underdog game. It's been rootable. And I think it's all of those things. But the greatest game ever played, I could debate Dom about that one. I think Dom might have played a better game, to this point.
I also, with all due respect to our friends in the new era, I don't know if the greatest game ever played is a 26-day game.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Rob said you got to be out there at least a month. At least. Rob, you are credited with playing with one of the more entertaining games of all time. You have a confessional count that has lasted for a very long time amongst the ranks.
But now we've changed the question. We're not talking about the most entertaining game of all time.
I'm just saying, when it comes to entertaining players, though, there are people who get a lot of screen time because they are just magnetic television, and they do a lot of moves, and they have a lot of one-liners, and they have a lot of confessionals, and they're a big part of the episodes, and they're the star of the season in a lot of ways. And I will push back. Rachel was not the star of the season. This was an ensemble cast for sure. And so Rachel's game was a lot of things, and I think it'll be fun to look at, as we step away from it, and we're not so much creatures of the moment because we're all wrapped up in the excitement of what the Survivor 47 in-game is and what that could mean for somebody like Rachel.
But I do think, again, going back to that resourcefulness, like I think we haven't found, if she does win, a player like Rachel in these past 7 seasons who like embrace so many different qualities that the new era offers.
Mike, I think that the person that is the best parallel to her, and it's a weird one because they're not similar people at all, I think is Mike Holloway.
I mean, because that's the thing as well, because maybe this is a bit of a hot take, and maybe it's like Mike's lifting other Mikes up in the Survivor world. I think Mike Holloway's game is actually a little underrated. I think so. Obviously, yes, there was a point that he had to win out, but what he was able to do, wearing that necklace around, knowing that he was safe and able to broker stuff based on that, tactical moves like, tipping Carolyn out to play her idol, really putting her, alongside him until the end game. I think that there is a lot of similarities there, obviously, in that they had to win out when they needed to. They were certainly backed into corner at points, but I think they also possess skills that put them in a good position up until that point.
Can I make another comparison? I think that there's another similarity that Mike trying to also had a big moment at an auction, but Mike tried to pull a fast one at the auction and got busted, just like Rachel tried to pull a fast one and got busted with the rice.
Yeah, I think it's a good comparison. I think Mike Holloway, like Mike was saying, it's kind of like an underrated game because Mike Holloway was the biggest threat on the board, bar none. And so everybody wanted him out. It was like, and he walked up on the plot to get him out. And then they all tried to gaslight him like, no, Mike, what are you talking about? He's like, no, I heard
just
y'all
like
saying
Rachel
y'all
did.
coming for me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Rachel had other people that were also big threats. Even Rachel's talking about how Genevieve is a big threat. Me and Genevieve are basically the same. Caroline's like, no, I'm keeping Rachel around because nobody wanted to keep Mike around. Nobody did. He had to win those challenges or he was going home.
Well, I think that Kyle and Joey Amazing is a similar situation.
Oh boy,
too.
no, well, okay, Kyle. Let's see if he digs any holes on social media.
Well, okay, in that Joe was winning all the immunity challenges. Mike voted out Joe because he was a challenge threat, and then Mike proceeded to, in Joe's absence, win all the immunities.
Yeah, and I do think as well that, because I've also seen, again, a lot of stuff comparing her to Mike, but also comparing her to Ben, someone who similarly had to be immune, granted through other circumstances besides challenges, to get to the end. And what I think is a difference even between those two guys is the fact that even when Mike was safe, he was still being brought in on plans, because he was explicitly safe. They were still bringing him in on plots and votes that he could get organized with. Ben was more so regarded as, for lack of a better term, a nuisance of like, well, we know Ben's going to play this other idol, but we're going to do our own stuff in the meantime. Even during like that big vote where Devin flips to turn on Dr. Mike, like Ben did not get his way in that vote. And so I think I agree. If we're talking about differentiating between those two games in particular, Rachel was more in the know. I mean, even look at this most recent vote. Like that's a classic Mike Holloway thing of, okay, I'm safe, and now I'm going to try to corral this majority. 2 votes. Yeah, this majority of 3. We'll see. Maybe the reason Rachel couldn't give away her personal information is because she actually downed a scorpion off camera in the first episode and couldn't talk that much.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. All right. Chappell, I know you want to talk about Teenie.
I do, because I've had such a roller coaster ride with Teenie. At first, I came in, I was like, Teenie is so likable. Episode 1, love this Teenie character, and then by episode 3, I'm like, Teenie, what are you doing? What's stop it? Now leave Asia alone. And we've seen just like this up and down game from Teenie, where people at different points are like, Teenie's gonna win it all. Teenie's got it. The social game is out of control.
Teenie truthers.
Teeny is one of the best characters we've seen in Survivor in a long time, because if you can be in a game and be wrong or be duped by your allies and stuff like that and still be a rootable, likable character in so many ways, I think that says so much about Teeny and the way the editors are taking care of Teeny, and the way Teeny is presenting themselves as somebody that people like to work with. Teeny is getting blindsided left and right. And I also think that's kind of fun too. I think we don't see a lot of characters who can go from basically episode 3 to up to like the end and just be like, no, I think all these moves were probably bad. And, but I still like them. And I still would think, like, I'm not counting them out right now. I'm thinking that we like them at home watching it on television. Maybe Teeny could get some votes. I think that, Teeny's also probably been taking this in stride pretty well on social media. I've been seeing a lot of the tweets and stuff. Seems like a good sport about it. But I also think that, like, Teeny has had a roller coaster, and I think that for many people at Teeny's age, they wouldn't be able to handle something like this. And so I'm very proud of them and watching them play the game this season.
And it's so interesting because, I was someone that was definitely coasting on Teeny's geniality, their teeniality, if you will, and how much they were getting on with a lot of people, of course, and talking with a lot of the jurors. Tiana was saying that she wanted to bring Teeny to the end. Sierra wanted to bring Teeny to the end. Saul wanted to bring Teeny to the end. Like, it was just this list, which is kind of on paper exactly what you want to hear as a finalist, of like, you had a great feeling about me, and it wasn't like I actively contributed to you getting voted out. That is the perfect equation to getting a vote. But I totally forgot until I was, again, looking through the episodes again, that the very first vote Teeny cast, they purposely did not vote in the majority. Remember, this was this like weird scattered Lavo vote.
We remember, Mike.
Yeah, where Teeny had voted for Saul, saying, I just can't vote for Asia. I'm partially maybe due to you, Rob, because I'm just too big of an RHAP fan. I can't do that to Asia. And maybe that should have been the writing on the wall as to Teeny's game a little bit, that unfortunately, when you purposely don't put yourself in the majority, eventually you do it so many times, it ends up actually becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Chappell, it was Chappell o'clock for Teeny this week.
I love when Survivor players get drunk on Survivor. It is my favorite Survivor trope. It'll never change. I can think every time it happens, I smile. Rob, you got drunk on Survivor. It's just my favorite people in Survivor history. I think of Davey pouring that beer on his head, Uncle Carl getting drunk, I think twice in his season. Give Teeny the wine. Let Teeny play Survivor and just make sure Teeny has wine every time. And we're going to get good stuff, because Teeny getting to that moment and getting a little tipsy revealed that Genevieve had an idol that Genevieve didn't have. I loved all of that. Bring us more alcohol. I know it's not the best thing to give these people, but I like it. I don't care. Let them get drunk. Let them let their hair down.
Now, I talked about this on the B&B this week, just how absolutely redonkulous Genevieve's the idol clue was under a pizza slice lie was. But should Genevieve had said this prior to the other trip she would take to the sanctuary? Because just imagine a sloshed Teeny just haphazardly, like a bull in a china shop, tearing everything asunder, digging her hands into the steak that they've been provided, trying to look for some sort of idol clue under the mistaken belief that clues can be hidden out there in the wild as part of the cutlery.
Not for anything. I don't think it's that crazy of a lie that Genevieve said that the idol clue was under the pizza slice. We saw Saul at I don't think it was at the sanctuary, but it was on a different reward. Got the clue to find an advantage.
Well, yeah, but that was though. It's location, Rob. The clue was in a plant. It was in the foliage. Yeah. You're talking about putting a regular ass piece of paper under a pizza slice that's greasy.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Has been sitting out for ages. Yeah. Like that thing is gonna look like a piece of cellophane. It'll be that see-through.
And also, Teeny was there eating that same pizza. It wasn't that like they each had a plate with one slice of pizza on it. It was like, oh, I got the good plate with the clue on it. No, they have a pizza that they're all taking pieces off of. And Teeny's like, and there, you mean to tell me that you got the clue from in front of me while I was devouring this pizza and drinking all the wine? Ain't no way. Because I think we were talking about is it Worlds Apart where they have like the spaghetti plate, which
that was Heroes.
HHH. The bin season. Yes, they have the spaghetti plate where it's like, all right, you move the spaghetti out the way, and then you have the thing, you have the clue. But here it's kind of like, They got to do that off to the side by themselves. You telling me you took, first of all, you're not getting no slice of pizza past Chappell. That's not a thing. If it was on the pizza, I would have saw it. So yeah, and you even get Teeny's reaction where you like, what? Okay, fine. But that's when the wheels start turning. You think Genevieve cannot be trusted at all, ever in life. I would never believe a word Genevieve ever said to me postseason ever. Sorry. I gotta have to take this one for the rest of my life because they are playing in your face, Teeny.
Mm-hmm.
Stand up.
Yeah. Mike, did you see the clip of when I asked Genevieve about if she was, how she felt about not having to make the fire after she told you she played Baldur's Gate and didn't practice making the fire?
It's that Canadian Riz, Rob.
Yeah. Did you see that, Chappell?
You got muscle
yeah.
up.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. You're like, so you agree? You think I'm bad at the fire? You're like, wait, are you? I don't.
And in that moment, we all felt like we were Teeny,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Head spun around. Just imagine doing that from day one. Teeny's been with Genevieve since the moment they stepped on the beach. This lady has been spinning Teeny around in circles since day one. I would be like, nah, get away from me. I would have been voting for Genevieve regardless of what happened. Genevieve got 3 idols. I don't care. I'm still voting for her. I can't do it. I can't do it no more. I can't live like this. If it's got to be me or her. I can't. We can't keep.
You turn me Topsy Teeny.
Yeah.
Right. And all around, every which way.
So the part 1 of the finale has, things all a little off our normal pace, but we haven't even talked about Andy going out of the game this week, and he was such a big part of the season. Chappell, what's your reaction to now that we've seen the entire Andy story in Survivor 47?
That there's more story to tell. Bring Andy back. Bring him back. I think
if so, though, put condoms on all of the challenge props.
Right, because Andy's a freaky frog. Freaky frog. Andy, stop humping things. Or keep humping things as long as you come back. But Andy was great. I think Andy probably could not have imagined his story being told like this in such a great way. I mean, he played the season, then he has to wait for it to air. And he knows all the times where Andy had an Andy moment, and we saw those moments. And then we saw moments he probably didn't even realize he had, like when he was doing all the humping. But to end the season in a way where I think a lot of us were at home really thinking like, hey, if they let Andy get to the final 3, that might be the problem, and he goes out in a way where, everybody was seemingly making the same mistake that he was making, not counting on Rachel having an idol. He wasn't completely duped or anything like that. I think he had a valiant run and he went out like a Rob god or a goddess or whatever. And so I think that for me, I liked all the Andy content, and I would love for Andy to come back. They said somebody from this season might be coming for 50, and I just don't understand how Andy doesn't get the call.
I, first off, adore this man so much, and just it's tough because 46 was kind of chaos incarnate, but like Andy was kind of that little leftover piece, the little piece of debris that kind of blew over from that fire into the forest of Survivor 47 and promptly burned it down in the process as well. Like, you have to remember on day 3 when Andy is suffering from heat exhaustion and says, Jeff, I love you. They're going to vote me out tonight. And then proceeds to go into an extended rant in front of 17 other complete strangers of like, I was going to take podcast host John Lovett and slit his throat for everyone to see. Like, absolutely unhinged. And then to have this guy sort of, and not in an exact similar mold as Emily Flippin, but certainly to go from that like -% chance of walking out of here with any dignity, let alone money to his name, and then getting idled out by somebody considered like a much bigger threat than you may. And I'm obsessed. Well, Rob, this is why I love the preseason. Okay. This is why I love the preseason.
Well, Mike, can I go back to something from your interview with Andy? Of course, I'm sure you remember. Do you recall Andy's hot take that you asked him?
Oh, do I? Because Andy said, and I quote, there is nothing more overrated in Survivor than the hidden immunity idol.
Man, ain't that something?
You tapped fate with that one, Chappell.
He did. He playing games. Like, oh, the idol actually doesn't change it, sir. Sir, how dare you? Don't ever take the idol's name in vain. Immunity idol been here for a long time for a reason. Okay, these blocker votes, these not safety without power, knowledge is power. Here today, gone tomorrow. But the idol stands true, okay? Because it is the great equalizer for sure. No matter what, your back is up against the wall. everyone's looking you dead in the eye and saying, it's you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Andy even got to the point where he's like, it's you, there's nothing you can do about it, but could you tell everybody how great I am on the way out, please? You know, and the idol came and smeated him. It took him out the game. Okay. So love Andy, but he was he tempted fate too much.
Russ in the chat says Andy and his hot takes. Boy, this guy's hot takes never seem to not get him in trouble.
And all of his hot takes do leave him crap in his pants by the end of it. That's for sure. I will also say though, second place runner-up in the irony department, Rachel saying idols and advantages in the new era, quote, set you up to fail. And again, considering how her game arguably had to rely on some things, and I didn't disagree, especially coming from a season 46 perspective where people were so cocksure about the things they had in their back pocket only for them to basically get pantsed in the process. Like, I will be very intrigued for many reasons to see how people in Survivor 49 play as a result of Survivor 47. Because now, 48, we're going to see a bit of a retroactive reaction to season 46 with all the idol stuff. Now 49 is going to react to like, oh, people can play these things.
It's always asked backwards, yeah.
And they can play them correctly. Oh, I got to be more cautious now. And so we're going to see like a reversion back to being conservative with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob.
Okay.
When you get your inevitable deep dive with Rachel, I want you to lead with, okay, Rachel, when you say advantages are a detriment, like what exactly do you mean by that? And talk about how that plays affecting your game. And I need Rachel to defend that take like Dom Abate is going to defend his.
Okay. All right. Mike, there was some Survivor news that came out today. Did you break this, Mike?
I was one of the people to break it, certainly.
Okay. All right, Mike, tell me about the news that came out in the Survivor merchandising department.
Yes. So, of course, we are encroaching upon the holiday season where good things happen.
Okay.
And a little bit past that, maybe when you're feeling a bit of those winter doldrums, January hits, there's no Survivor on for a couple months. It's cold in most parts of the world. But here's something to warm up your hearts, your homes, and your brain. For, I'll put in quotes, the first time, there is an official card game for Survivor. As released today, Survivor, The Tribe Has Spoken, is coming to all major distributors on January 12th. It is a collaboration between Jeff Probst and somebody who's actually mentioned a bunch on the On Fire podcast, a frequent collaborator in the creative process, Elon Lee, who is the creator most well known for Exploding Kittens and all of the other card games.
You ever play that, Mike?
I haven't played that one. I played Throw Burrito, I think, and that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have the Exploding Kittens. We got it because Jeff talks about it so much. Fun game. My kids love it.
I saw the Netflix show. It's about like some demon cats.
Yeah, that's like inappropriate, right?
I mean, not for me.
Yeah, not for you. Not for
Are
you.
you sure you were watching Don't F with Cats?
Yeah.
No, there's an Exploding
cartoon.
Kittens cartoon on Netflix, and it is it's great.
Yeah, all right, Mike. So the first ever Survivor card game is here.
So, all right, let me provide a vocal caveat because Jeff knows there were plenty of people who understandably responded in the comments on my posts about this. Technically speaking, listen, Survivor's been around for nearly 25 years. You better believe basically every single piece of merchandise you can think of has been created. And so, back in the early days of Survivor, in its first couple seasons, there was an official card game created as well that Rob is currently holding up for the video version of this podcast.
Yeah, I have here in my hand the official, according to this, now maybe this is like a knockoff, Survivor trading card game, okay? The 2-player starter deck, first edition, they call it.
That's an audacious claim.
Yes.
I mean, here's the
first
second edition.
I do believe that there was a Australian Outback version of this also.
Oh, that's fun. It's like when you collect baseball cards of a bunch of players who have been canceled. Of like,
I was about to say the worst deck of all time. Dear God.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see. This says walk the. I don't know what these mean. It says walk the plank. I got one that says
Survivor Pearl Island.
Change alliance. Choose a castaway with an alliance symbol. That castaway can now change alliances and join a different alliance. Wow,
so if I recall correctly, this trading card game was sort of played like the Pokemon trading card game, where like there actually was a game you could play, but if people were collecting them at the time, it was more sort of like collect different castaways and trade them, which is also a very fun idea of thinking about the gotta catch 'em all mentality when there were 16 or 32 Survivor contestants instead of 800.
I got the Richard Hatch eating dog food card.
So it was.
Is that like the blue eyes white dragon of
Here,
Survivor?
Chappell. Okay, all right. Guess what card I have.
Okay, all right. You use the heart of the cards here. This is snakes and rats.
Snakes and rats. No, it's coconut.
Oh.
All right, Mike, your turn. Okay, all right. Guess the card.
Give me a hint. Animal, vegetable, or mineral?
It's a quote.
It's a quote. He's fat, but he's good.
No, be nice.
But he's good.
Colleen
Be nice.
Haskell. Yeah.
Boom.
Oh yeah, I mean it's her final words.
No,
Okay.
but look, we have so much more material now to deal with in this new card game. Rob, back when this card game was happening, there was no immunity idol. There was barely an alliance. Okay, like it happened once, and people were like, "What? An alliance? What is that?" But now we have so much you can incorporate into a card game. Like I think they waited. I guess a very long time since the second edition of this, but they waited long enough to where now you got so many different iterations of this thing that you could actually play or actually, enjoy this.
All right, so what do? We get together, Mike. We have like a podcaster game night playing the Survivor card game.
I mean, listen, don't tempt me with a good time. You just celebrated the 10-year anniversary of Reality Game Masters, Rob. I think it's time to revive it once more because to Chappell's point, there are quite a number of features in here. And this is apparently have been like a 2-year collaboration, even though Elon Lee has kind of like been Mike White has kind of been usurped as like Jeff Probst's consigliere in terms of production elements. In fact, I believe Elon Lee was one of the people to advise Jeff that the shot in the dark should be a 1 out of 6 chance.
Every powerful person needs a trusted advisor named Elon, okay?
Yes, exactly. And so I can't wait to see Elon Lee hyping up Jeff at the inevitable press conference they do to release.
For Survivor 50.
For Survivor, yeah, exactly.
Oh no! I don't know this.
I'm just saying, Exploding Kittens, Dogecoin.
It's
something there. But so here are some cards. Because again, it's a card game.
Did you get a sample, Mike?
I have not gotten a sample, but there is some stuff in a press release that are some features, and I'm assuming there's more. So first off, there are advantages and there are idols that are a part. So you can actually, there is a voting off element, which does harken back to, if you remember, the Survivor board game, which I had both copies of. Played that mercilessly with my cousins. You do vote people out.
Yeah.
And
you want me to grab that, Mike?
Oh, please. Yes. Let's do a little bit of like a freaking Antiques Roadshow on this podcast, you know?
I love it here. Go get those Pringles too while you're at it.
Well, because I'm also gonna let's do a deep dive, Chappell, very briefly into the world of Survivor gaming. Do you know a lot about the games that have come in Survivor seasons past?
No, I was a Survivor fan, but I didn't know anybody else who was, and so I wasn't like playing. I didn't. Have
so you're talking about that one. See, I'm talking. See, that's
a different one, Mike.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the ones that have like the island centerpiece that has a board around it that has playing out.
I think this one really sucks. There was Chappell. There was a huge cash grab after the first Survivor, and they just put a ton of crap out.
Yeah,
I'm sure that this new game is actually good and playable, but a lot of this stuff is horrible.
Yeah, so is that like a trivia game, Rob?
No. This is like you have a bunch of people and then you vote people out. Let me give you some of the challenge cards. Okay. Quick immunity challenge. The tribe, it's like a party game. You have like people. The tribe who collectively has the greatest number of siblings wins immunity. Write their names down.
Oh my God.
Bad news if Antonio Cromartie is at your party.
I feel like the only place where you could pull that game out would be like the Jonestown Massacre. Like if there's a distinct end goal for the party, it's like, you don't throw anything out there. Otherwise, people are leaving immediately.
All right,
I'm hearing drinking game. I'm hearing
you have some guests at your house, Chappell. Okay, here's the challenge. Each tribe fills 3 balloons with water, then has one member stand 20 paces apart. What's a pace? From the other tribe member. On the count of 3, toss and catch the balloon.
This is not a company picnic. This is
I gotta go outside. I thought I could do
you could do it in the house.
The balloons are not included in this, though. This is not minute to win it.
You have a tile floor? Okay. Quick immunity challenge. Elect one tribe member. The player who is able to balance a book on their heads the longest wins immunity tribe.
Okay, now this is just finishing school.
Yeah.
Take a shot. So
to also rewind back, so Survivor also tried its hand.
Be the first tribe to draw representations of the 7 wonders of the world, ancient or modern, will be accepted.
can't even
good.
name
I'm so
all
glad they
seven.
cast that net wide. Lord knows I can't remember the Colossus at Rhodes, like the back
Is
of my
that-
hand.
Is that
Is
the,
that one
the
of them?
Grand Canyon?
But if you recall,
Stonehenge.
Survivor threw its hat into the PC gaming ring.
Yes, I had that too.
I had both editions where you could play as a cast member from seasons 1 and 2 or seasons 3 and 4, and you would do a bunch of like flash games and make alliances. There was a Survivor Wii game, which I remember Angela bought for me when we were courting early in our relationship. That is so funny because and we can talk about this with this card game, you can represent some of the castaways on there. Like you can pick someone who's named after a previous player, and they do not look like them whatsoever.
Oh, you said Wii, like the Nintendo Wii?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Not the communal Wii, not the me and the Wii, as Michaela would say.
No,
Mhm.
I was just like, what is a Wii game?
Yeah.
I ain't never played.
Chappell, I
Wii
got
game.
one more
Drinking games,
challenge
yeah.
for you. Have each tribe fill up, have each tribe member fill a pot of water and bring it from the bathtub to the kitchen sink without spilling a drop. If you spill, go back to the tub and start again.
That's the sweat challenge. They're going to do the sweat challenge.
The other tribe starts at the kitchen sink and brings their water to the tub.
Y'all trying to make a mess.
Hopefully
That's
you're
what I'm saying.
renting when you play this game and this isn't your house.
This is ridiculous. No, this is why this game was a flop. They were onto something though, and we have all of these amazing RHAP live shows where we get these patrons together and we do communal things like play. I heard people were going and doing Squid Game and people were playing Blood on the Clock Tower. We get this new Survivor game. You know, if we could throw some shots in there, I think I might be.
Yeah, do you think that
moderating.
Dwight Moore will let some of the patrons come to his apartment and fill the bathtub with water and fill the sink with water?
Yeah, you're
He
the
might.
washerwoman, so you have to bring the water to the clothes. But like, what do you win if you win this challenge, Rob?
Immunity, Mike.
Immunity.
Man, they really
Immunity challenge.
people complain that the challenges aren't big or grandiose, but listen, they could be a lot worse. So suffice it to say, there's not a lot of water balloons being thrown in this modern day version, but there are some cards that you can play, which include reward challenges, quote, which require you to scheme and strategize with the other players. There is a card called, and I kid you not, Sorry for You,
Okay.
which blocks opponents from stealing your cards. I guess it's sort of like the Xander Knowledge is Power. No, but you can have this fake. And the Spy Shack, which lets you peek at any player's hand and steal a card.
Okay.
Okay. There's
We'll check it out. We'll get this.
Will Survivor ever make a good game? I remember, was it last year or two years?
I bet this game is going to be good.
Computer game.
Yeah, if Elon Lee is working on this, like I bet it's going to be a good game.
So now, shall we talk about what has maybe made the rounds alongside parallel to the news about this, which is, as part of this game, much like that woe-begotten Wii game back in the day, not to be confused with the Wii that you take after you carry all that water back and forth. And
You're not drinking the water.
I mean, they don't say that you can't. If you have to bring the water back, if you drink it down, it's a much
If
easier
you
to
spill one drop, Mike, you have to go back.
So then if there's no drops in the pot, if you say I transported the water across just in my belly, but you can play as a previous Survivor player. It's a game for 3 to 6 people, but you are taking up the avatar of a previous Survivor
You play
player.
the card game as a previous contestant?
You
How?
do.
How's that work?
Well, I don't know if there's
Do I have like a token?
So we could talk about this, and I'll share the image that I found that showcases it, because you can play from a set of previous players. They have chosen, I believe, 12 previous players. A real dirty
Is this the cast
dozen.
of Survivor 50 we're about to see?
So let's get into it. You know, Rob, I worked very hard over the summer to prognosticate a possible cast for Survivor 50, and
All
Elon Lee might have spoiled it for us.
Now, you didn't just ask ChatGPT for this? This is real?
Well, that might be some people's explanation.
Okay.
So these are the 12 characters that apparently you can choose. Choose your fighter, the Super Smash Brothers of the Survivor card game here.
All right. So let me just see. Can you read these for me? Because I'm trying.
Yeah. So we have Sari and Rupert. So they're sort of paired off here. We have Tony and Sarah, as they always are. We have Ozzy and Stephanie LaGrossa.
Okay.
We have Jeremy and Natalie. We have straight from the new era, Jam Jam and Dee.
Wow.
And of course, back together once more to their chagrin, Rob and Sandra.
Okay. Can we do snubs? Can we do snubs of
don't worry. The internet has. For the
okay.
past
Yeah.
6 hours
What are they saying?
Well, hold on. First of all, I just have questions about how Sari ended up with Rupert and Ozzy ended up with Steph. Because like these are all icons, but they're not similar in the same way that like Boston Rob and Sandra are obviously in Survivor history. Natalie and Jeremy are. Tony
the people
and
on the
Sarah.
right hand side, okay, they have some connection. Connection between, I mean, Sari and Rupert, but they both did play on the Heroes Tribe.
That's it.
I think that they maybe
they can't win. You know, like,
yeah. Ozzy and Stephanie, I feel like that they're both sort of like tough competitors. Like I feel like that there's something there.
I say this with all the love to Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick. This feels a little bit like the out of touch executives in the boardroom being like, who do the kids like nowadays that we can put on our Survivor trading card? I think they still got a bit of the Stephanie fever in them. You know, it's 2004, right? Not 2024. Put her in the card game.
Yeah, and it's not all winners. Also, Stephanie hasn't won. Sari hasn't won. Rupert hasn't won. Ozzy hasn't won.
Nobody from that era has won. If you look at it, Sari, Rupert, Ozzy, and Stephanie, man, that's tough. Why did you get them on?
Yeah. Okay. So what else is the internet saying, Mike?
Well, I think the name on everybody's lips has got to be Parvati, even though you two will be talking about her on a very different show in just a few weeks here in Dondi. People are surprised. People consider the Survivor Mount Rushmore to be Rob, Tony, Sandra, Parvati. We got 75% representation here.
Yeah.
Okay, Steph LaGrossa, love you to death. But Ozzy and Parvati in this yellow would make total sense. They played together on the same season. They're from the same era.
She peed in the hot tub. Yellow.
She peed in the hot tub. He was naked in the hot tub. Like that. These things matter. They played together twice. That was right. Parvati was right there. I don't think they had the rights. Parvati must have declined her offer.
Do you think the banker got on the phone and asked for too high a calling card for Parvati here?
Yeah, must have been, because I don't
think they got any royalties for this.
They don't get royalties for this? You can just use their likeness forever?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's obviously Rob can speak to someone who signed that contract twice.
I mean, I don't think there's any Rob C merch out there, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I still think it's very odd that
this was an editorial choice.
I love Steph LaGrossa. You could have put Bobby John there, and it would have made sense. Nobody would remember it, but it would have made sense. They're kind of tied together. And then I don't know who you put with Sari. Tom, I
think we're also talking about, of course, the Amanda Kimmel well, especially with like the Black Widow Brigade being spoke about again in such highlight.
Yeah. Or James Clement, basically two-time America's favorite player back to back, essentially. I think there's something there.
I mean, I guess the good news is that there is room for DLC, right? I mean, like they'll patch in Parvati.
I mean, I think if you're going for like the most notable people, and there might be other reasons why they didn't want to go this way for the children's game, but I think Russell is certainly like somebody you could go with. Richard also, these are like famous. Like if you're going for like who are the biggest like names that are left off, I think you can make a case for Malcolm.
Yeah. Also, looking at Mike's, not to be reading your tweets, but look at the first response we see on here. It's Jeremy Collins like, you couldn't get this out for Christmas. Like, all right, Jeremy, we're going to buy the game.
Yes, the game comes out just in time for MLK Day. January 12th.
I had a dream that a Survivor card game would be coming, just not soon enough.
That big second week in January rush.
Oh yeah, right on time for the inauguration. People
will
good. I could play as Tony or Sarah.
Yeah, people will be storming the Walmarts to get a copy of this game.
Yeah. So, all right. There you go. There's the Survivor card game. I'm interested to play it, Mike.
Oh, I mean, I think we got to get this going. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that I don't think they've adapted a virtual version. So
no, we got to do it in person.
We'll do it in person. Listen, there's a few of us over here in the tri-state area that I think we can figure something out.
I'll fly up for the RHAP 15-year anniversary. We'll play the card game.
Caveat, though, you have to pick a card and do it as an impression of that player.
Okay.
Okay, Rob, you do some pretty iconic impressions of these people. Tony is a good one that you do.
Boston
Rob. I feel like that's a cop out though. You can't do Boston Rob. Do Rupert.
Oh, I would love to play the card game as long as I don't play with that little snake, Johnny Fairplay.
And then Mike, when we download our characters, you can do Krista.
Yes. Oh, I got an idol. There you go, Rupert. Put it in your skirt.
Okay. All right. So there you go. The Survivor card game coming out next month.
Coming out in but 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. So coming for Christmas 2026.
That's how you kick off your new year. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This is a good one. Okay. This is wild when I heard about this. Okay. Now, Chappell, we've been talking about for a couple of weeks here on Club Condo about all of the hysteria around Saul and, of course, him coming out. And we've, with Bryce, I was talking about like all the different outfits that the jury members are wearing. Did you see this? That Saul was invited to judge a vest wearing contest?
Y'all are so unserious. The Survivor fandom is so unserious. I have discussed that we allow this kind of stuff to happen, but keep going. Keep doing it.
Yes, and somebody had a picture of this. The Survivor fandom is so unserious. Like, why am I watching Saul judge a vest competition in a Brooklyn bar?
And the CBS logo behind them is going to get them sued because there's no way that they were signed off on.
I am so invested in this. I mean, this makes so much sense. From the creators of the Timothy Chalamet lookalike contest comes Saul being able to adjudicate. I guess, I don't know, what's the criteria here? What's the outplay, outlast of the outvest competition?
Well, so we can't really get too much information, and let us know if somebody who was there can give us some more information.
If you were there,
one person is wearing like a Cochrane-esque type vest.
Or like an Aladdin look.
Yeah.
You have to be disqualified if you have a shirt on under the vest. The whole point of Saul's vest was that it was a vest that stood alone, and so hopefully the winner, reflected the real essence of the whole vest thing. Because it was like, if he came out wearing a shirt with a vest on it, nobody would have reacted. It was the fact that Stephen Fishbach took one look at this man's pecs and said, yeah, that's a vest. And so that's why we have this contest. I gotta keep the spirit of it.
Okay. Mike, what other competitions could we break out for the Survivor 47 contestants?
Oh, I mean, Sue has to well, I don't know. Actually, things are going a very bad direction if Sue judged the city-based competition. I realize that now. I think it's like a little...
No?
When she got ready to do her, she did her makeup tutorial with the soot, and I believe Sam Moore's like, are we gonna be okay posting this? Damn, we're not going.
He's always concerned.
It was a good question.
Okay. What about a baby Andy makeover competition? He's all that, she's all that contest.
So is that like sort of a Drag Race-esque reveal that you like dress in your best nerd chic and then you sort of do like a presumptive tearaway and now you're all hot and ready to go?
Let your hair down. Yeah, take off your glasses, let your hair down, and then we play Sixpence None the Richer in the background. Kiss me.
I think I think you should do I think you should do in honor of Rachel Lamont, I think you should find the most unique place to hide rice on you. That it should not be visible, but then you reach inside some sort of crevasse in your clothing and pull out a handful of rice.
Please don't reach into those crevasses and pull out no rice. I don't want that. Your rice go from white rice to brown rice Wednesdays in a heartbeat, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Leave your crevasses closed.
Theoretically,
no
Jeff,
rice.
I don't think would have busted her. I don't think he would call her out if he noticed that.
No, Rachel spit it out. Like, what? Excuse me?
What about if Kyle judges the West Nail wing eating competition?
Real. That's
real. But it's like, who's the most humanitarian towards the wings? He's like, I tricked you all. The only way to win was not to play. Congratulations, Charlie, you've won.
Pretty good, Kyle.
Thank you. I was workshopping it.
Yeah.
It's the vegetarians eating wings contest, really, is what it is. You have to be a vegetarian and then you have to eat the wings. Because Kyle was like, man, I shouldn't be doing this. But oh my God.
I think it's more like, well, you look the most viscerally uncomfortable doing it. I could tell it really meant a lot to you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Take the coupon to Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, this is an idea that came up on the last patron Q&A that I got. And somebody called in and said, hey, you should get together and do with Mike Bloom, maybe do the superlatives for the season at the end of the season. Why wait? Why wait? Because we have this great cast, and I thought it'd be fun. I went and I actually I had a ChatGPT created an image for me of the Survivor yearbook for Survivor 47.
Yeah, as we go on.
I didn't know it was a ChatGPT until I saw you getting dragged on the internet.
What did I get dragged? Did I get dragged on the internet?
Never mind.
If somebody dragged my picture for the touch grass, okay, get a life. Okay, it would have been better if it was just text. Okay. Losers. Survivor 47 yearbook is here. And we asked the listeners for their submissions of what would be some great, interesting categories for our Survivor 47 yearbook. And we got 18 listener submitted categories here from the listeners, and I thought it would be a fun game to play.
Yeah,
Mike,
let's do it.
Mike, you struck me as someone who might have won a class superlative in your day. Tell me about it.
No, I did not. Surprisingly enough, I was someone who, it's still something that may or may not be a chip on my shoulder at this point. But no, I was outbid by all these other people. But I got the last laugh because I'm pontificating on a 20-year-old card game and razzing all the tasks that are being given therein. Who's laughing now? Yeah. Norwalk High School class of 2007. Who's laughing now?
You won.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I have 18 original
18-y.
superlative categories, and I thought it might be a fun game to play to try to see if we could fit. You can only use Survivor once. Okay, you just say Andy for everything. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Here we go. Here are 18 categories. Okay, all right. Here we go.
Like categories.
Yes. All right. First one. Most likely to get kicked out of the group text. Okay, I'll give you all 18.
Oh yeah. Okay. This is gonna
give you all 18.
I already have the answer.
Okay. All right. That one's from Sarah Cupcakes. Then we got from Amy Anami. Most likely to be an off-base bitter juror against someone who actually helped their game.
Okay.
Shane Paulson gives us most likely to make the Zaddy calendar.
Oh, okay.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Countess and Frenemy says most likely to decline a call for 50.
Ooh, okay.
Evan Rollins, most likely to disappear and never be heard from again.
Ooh.
Allie Slinger says most likely to interrupt someone's Instagram live to cause drama.
Okay, the Angela Murray Memorial Award.
Justin Fetich says most likely cast member not from David versus Goliath to make a cameo on the White Lotus.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Okay.
That trailer just dropped too. Yeah, I'm ready.
Yes. Erica Dedrick Loser says
Queen.
Most likely to charge the most for a cameo. Tommy Guam has most likely to host On Fire. Stacey Butler has most likely to win Twish. Tommy Guam has most likely to be on the challenge. Haley Joy gives us most likely to win the Sia Award if it was still being awarded. Rick Devins posted most likely to accidentally post a spoiler to social media.
Well, accidentally, I think should be using quotations there.
Amy Anami says most likely to be a secret billionaire. Maya Byard gives us teacher / props favorite. Haley Joy, most likely to have eaten a bat out of desperation if Jeff took away rice negotiations and all the food rewards were gone.
Oh, so cause COVID again.
Stacey Butler has most likely to join in on Chappell O'Clock.
Hey.
And Xander Weiss,
come on.
most likely shook losing finalists during the after show.
So that unfortunately is going to limit things to about 3 or 4
Well,
people.
this is like you're a little boxed in here, Mike. Okay.
We like that.
All right.
I like rules.
All right. Here we go. All right. You want to start with going down the list?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, either that or do we want to suggest a person and then try to slot them in? What's the easier one to do here?
I think let me give you the let's do the category.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Most likely to get kicked out of the group text.
So this is where the difficulty automatically presents itself.
And we could pass also. Come back to it.
Because, I mean, the leader of the clubhouse is definitively Rome. No, but much like the first 6 episodes of Survivor proper, there's a lot of Rome that's speaking out in this list as well. So it's tough. Do we put him in here, or do we go with like maybe a number 2 or number 3 pick instead?
Yeah, I think we have to come back to this one. Because
Okay,
I
we'll
think
come
there
back
are
to it.
better
Okay.
options for Rome probably in these numbers.
You know what? Actually, I might put like TK in there, low key, because I feel like even from his own allies, there was a bit of trash talked about TK in the interviews that we've done.
Maybe he didn't leave the group text that Sue kicked him out.
Yeah, they made a splinter group chat that was like, okay, it's everyone minus TK.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Most likely to be, we can move stuff around. Okay. Most likely to be an off-base bitter juror against someone who actually helped their game. Who's the most likely to be a bitter juror?
Okay. Now we only have we that eliminates our final 4 contestants here because we don't know who's going to be in that spot, or we could just say one of them could potentially be a bitter juror, even though we don't know if they make the final 3.
See, that's the thing, is to your delightful point about Teeny's emotional volatility, which again, I agree, I have no slight against, considering that A, they're a person, and B, it makes for a very captivating presence on Survivor. There's a very good chance if they end up being on the jury, this might be their archetype.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I could see it.
Yeah, Teeny has a lot to be bitter about, but to Genevieve, who's not going to be in the final 3. So yeah, I think that this. Let's go ahead and put Teeny right here. I'd be okay with that.
Do you think if Teeny's sitting in the final 3 with Sam and Sam's asked a question, Teeny will be like, "Oh, I'll answer that on Sam's behalf." Oh, I don't know. Oh, freaking out.
Oh, yeah. I don't know pineapples. I don't know.
we got JT throwing Steven under the bus, but I don't think we've ever gotten to the level of slander where someone does a disparaging impression of one of the other finalists at Final Tribal Council, and now I want to see it.
Okay. Most likely to make the Zaddy calendar.
So this is, for me, a 2-horse race between Andy and Saul.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're going to have more spots for Andy. I think this is where we should use our Saul chip.
Yeah, Saul chip.
Yes, and he got the chips at the auction.
No, I don't know. There might be, like, I could see Sam in here as well if we can't find a spot for him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, most likely to decline a call for 50.
John Lovett.
That's a good one.
That's a very good one.
He ain't coming back, baby. It's not happening.
He said he wanted to when we did the exit press, but okay. Most likely to disappear and never be heard from again. Okay, I think. How about Kishan?
I think Keyshawn, much like the low-key game he played until a very opportune moment, has kind of been low-key on social media as well. Because it's tough, because you would imagine you look at somebody like Kyle or even Genevieve to a certain retrospect, it could be like, yeah, they'll sort of just like go back from their lack of social media footprint and kind of, never return again. I could see maybe Caroline. Like Caroline, I think.
Tiana, I think
to an earlier point that's made, I think Caroline's going to make a big podcast circuit appearance from now on. I think she's so good at talking about the game that I think she's definitely going to earn a spot in the repertory players there, that I think that takes away from like any lack of social media presence she has.
Okay.
Yeah. What about Kyle? I mean, where's the next time we're going to see Kyle?
I think we have other spots to use Kyle. Okay. All right. Then we have most likely to interrupt someone's Instagram live to cause drama.
So this is another Rome possibility.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a possible Sue slot as well.
Oh yeah, if we're going into Angela archetype, I think that's a possibility for sure.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I could share my screen. I don't know if you could. I don't know if you can see this. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Interrupting call.
Oh, you know what? Actually, Annika could be a nice low-key person to put in here as well.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I would love the Annika interruption. That would be great TV or great Instagram live, at least. If Annika shows up like, yeah, by the way, I ain't forgot how
another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I ain't dead yet.
Okay. Most likely cast member not from David versus Goliath to make a cameo on the White Lotus. Okay. Could this be Sue here?
I mean, it could be. But like, I don't want to look. I'm not trying to put Asia on TV too soon, but I'd be all right with Asia getting on the White Lotus.
I'm gonna say Sierra because Mike accidentally thinks she's Kara K.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Is there a real answer that we have here? Could we put Saul in this spot?
If we put Saul in the spot, that pretty much solidifies what Andy for the Zaddy calendar at that point,
or Sam,
or Sam. What about Sam? Sam couldn't be on the White Lotus.
Is White Lotus the new like Bold and Beautiful to Big Brother of like?
I think so.
We're gonna do like a shoehorned in reference to what they did on the show, or is it like who are we gonna see do a line of coke off their butt cheeks on the White Lotus?
Man.
Okay. All right. We can come back to White Lotus. Okay. Most likely to charge the most for a cameo.
John Lovett?
Well, we already used him.
No,
I'm just saying,
John feels too self-deprecating to charge that high of a price.
I mean, who's going to charge higher than
How much
John
is
Lovett?
Gabe charging for a cameo?
Now, the question is, could someone pull the Matt Hoffman here, where Matt Hoffman at Big Brother 12 notably is on cameo, but charges like, what, $1,000 a cameo so that he doesn't have to record any? Could that be somebody like Genevieve to like almost price herself out of the market?
I do like that. I do like that a lot.
I feel like we have other spots for Genevieve too,
but do we? Because now I'm looking. I don't. What are you? Let's talk about the Genevieve spot of the 18. Where did you see her?
All right, most likely to host On Fire.
Oh yeah, I guess that's.
I don't know. I think that's a good place to put Sam as well.
You think that they're gonna go with another guy after Charlie in a row?
I mean, that's a good point, but also like, dude does broadcast for a living. He's one of the rare broadcast-based people that actually made it to the end of the game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about most likely to be on the challenge? I feel like that's a good spot for Sam.
But the challenge is so messy. I
don't know. I actually think, you know what? Let me put on my business manager pants. And once upon a time, I was on a podcast, on the Free Agents podcast. Check them out. And we did a draft of people from Survivor likely to appear on the challenge. And this person was drafted, though we cautioned them not to do it. But look, now that they had a fairly dispiriting early exit from the game.
How dare you?
I'm going to say it. Asia, jump to the
No.
other side of the CBS Viacom merger,
no.
baby. Get on the challenge.
Absolutely not. You stay away from the people, Asia. They're not well. They're not well.
Yeah. So the chat is saying right now Sue has the highest cameo price.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But maybe let's go pencil Sue in.
Listen, all I'm saying is if Asia could deal with Rome, she could deal with Johnny Bananas.
But she could not deal with Rome, and that's the point. She couldn't. Asia, no.
But that's almost like she's forged in flame now, right? Like she could prepare herself for it now.
I would be in prison if Asia went on the challenge. I would just like.
All right, well, let's keep going. Okay, most likely to win the Sia Award if it was still being awarded. Is this Andy? Is it Kyle? Is it Genevieve?
Kyle's out. You can't be a
Teeny?
vegetarian who eats a wing and then Sia be like, "Yeah, I'm giving you money."
Maybe she just didn't watch that episode.
Is it Sierra who saved the chickens?
The Sierra Award.
Yeah, remember that? That's another moment that you forget about the season in retrospect. Remember when, a la the gift of the Magi in honor of the holiday season, Gata came in and traded their chickens for eggs, and then they lost their flints, so they couldn't prepare the eggs, and they just sat there?
It's a sad story.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to put Sierra in this spot?
I think Caroline could get the Sia Award. You know,
Why?
She was great. She was like, everybody was talking about how much of a cheerleader she was. She was so positive for everybody. If I'm Sia, who doesn't like Caroline? She's great.
I don't know.
We like Caroline, but I don't think that's a Sia award person.
Davey got the Sia Award. Anybody?
I mean, to be fair, like Kyle ate chicken wings. He didn't slaughter the chicken. It's not like Sia is saying, if you consume any part of an animal, you're just being discredited from this award. It was more so that Kyle had a lot of difficulty doing so.
Could Rachel get the Sia Award?
I don't think she's has she given it to a winner?
She ain't win yet.
That's true. And she was inspired to give it to Jesse, though. Again, maybe to the Kyle element, it might have been just because of the family that got involved. Maybe Sue's discrediting gives credit to Kyle for Sia.
Okay. Well, let's keep going then. See if we can lock a couple of these in. Most likely to accidentally post a spoiler to social media.
See that does scream a little Sue to me.
It does. It does. It's the accidentally part that makes it sound like Sue, right? Because it does feel like Sue might be the least tapped into, kind of social media etiquette.
Well, who's most likely to be a secret billionaire?
Asia
Wealth.
Yeah, she been a billionaire. Asia been rich. Asia been wealth. I don't know.
So Andy obviously has all the numerical stuff on his side. And it could be interesting if he's like, I had all these financial details going on, and he has a bunch of different screens open, a bunch of different crypto markets to try to figure out how to make a bang for his buck. I could also see.
If you told me Kashawn was a billionaire, I wouldn't be shocked.
Okay, I think we can put somebody else in the most likely to disappear and never be heard from again. Yeah. Okay. Teacher's favorite. Okay. Who's most likely to be Jeff's favorite?
Jeff loved Gabe. Gabe was like a soundbite person at the
Gabe. Yeah, Gabe very much had the Drew Basile sort of like go-to role. Remember when Gabe was like, it was the armistice declared in World War I.
Yes.
Jeff was eating that up. He loves that History Channel shit.
He does. He really does. But Rome sat in Jeff's seat.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was more like inviting the kid to the cockpit to pretend like he's flying the plane.
That's what you do for the favorite,
you know? Most likely to have eaten a bat out of desperation if Jeff took away the rice negotiations.
Well,
I mean, this could be Kyle.
Oh, no, this is Caroline. This is Caroline written all Caroline
That's pretty good. She ate the eyeball.
Yeah, was one of the biggest examples of toxic positivity I've ever seen in my life. Like, her being like, F yeah, get revenge. Like, she is somebody who would
Let's take a bad situation and make bat soup.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Most likely to join in on Chappell o'clock. See, I think this is Teeny.
I think we probably got some heavy drinkers in this group.
Yeah, but I mean, you can also say Sierra went out with the margarita curse as well. We know.
Yeah, but now can't drink now. Congratulations to Sierra is with child.
There we go.
Yeah. So maybe Chappell o'clock after, in a few months.
And listen, all I'm saying is we've been here before. We had someone declare they were expecting shortly before our Survivor finale. All I'm saying is, here's how Sierra can still win Survivor 47.
Somebody said they were expecting.
Yeah, remember Kenzie said like a couple weeks before the finale that she was expecting?
Okay, yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about Brenda telling that woman to take out her teeth.
All right. Then most likely to join in on Chappell o'clock. Who do we got here?
Let's do Teeny right now. If we got to move Teeny
we're
around,
taking Teeny off of most likely to be an off base. I think that Teeny is a lock for the final three.
Yeah, Teeny's in the final three.
Okay. Most likely Shook losing finalist during the after show. Oh wait, I think we need Teeny for this one.
That's the Teeny spot. We can find somebody else for me to drink with. That's
Sue.
Not yet, because Sue, remember, she already had Ala Martinez from Survivor South Africa. She had her speech written out from the very first episode.
I think we got to go with Teeny for the losing finalist because it's the Shook part. Like it's the like. Hey, we're not asking you any questions type thing. I think that's the one. I think Sue gonna get the Tuku's gonna look out for Sue.
I don't want that's the thing is like Sue might be shook that she didn't get more.
Could
besides
Sam go to Chappell o'clock?
Oh yeah, we're gonna celebrate our win, Sam.
Celebrate the win.
He's gonna drink that sangria and then eat the fruit for the first time and
it. Well, I think we're wasting TK on most likely to get kicked out of the group chat.
I think we're wasting TK?
Yes, I think TK could go to the Zaddy calendar. I think that TK could go to the challenge.
TK could go to the challenge. I'm okay with that. I think that Asia can't. So TK, go take that L for Asia. That's what you get for forging.
Apologies for the agita I've given Asia for this brief 5-minute portion.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for our bitter juror, Sierra, I think, is probably leading the. If she's not, if we're not going to use her for Sia money, I could see her being the bitter juror.
But bitter gets who? Rachel? I guess. Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
But did Rachel help her in the game?
No, I don't think so. But what if Sierra's bitter against Sam? Ooh, that would be spicy. Sam.
Now wait a minute. Could I mean? Listen. Yeah. We don't know how Andy is going to feel about the fact that he went and spilled his entire game to Rachel, and she had that rather curt, blunt moment to him on the way out.
I think there's this non-zero chance that Andy could be the bitter juror, but I think there's like 9 different spots we could use Andy on this list.
Andy could be bitter against Sam too. You know, Sam, who was like, I'm dragging you through the game, basically, Andy. You know,
this is a puzzle. You have to remember, there's lots of different ways to solve it.
That's not in Rome.
We're not going for what's the best possible answer.
Well, let's skip that one then. Let's come back to another one then.
Let me tell you what's like screaming to me right now, and I feel like White Lotus. And maybe it's because Sierra wears so many different hats, plays so many different roles. I could just see her holding a tray and servicing all of these. I think
she was a server.
Yeah,
right?
like serving all of these white people, rich privilege problem filled individuals on the White Lotus, which is usually where these survivors slot into, right? Like Alec Merlino was not the guy who got his ass eaten out on the White Lotus, but he was part of the staff.
He was the other guy. Yeah. He was doing the coke, but he wasn't doing the ass, he wasn't that part.
Okay. All right. Who's hosting On Fire?
I think it's pretty who we have left. I think Genevieve is number 1 with right.
Yeah. I think that one works.
Or you let Asia go. Let her do her thing, Rob.
Asia would be good.
Asia is the only.
Is she the most likely
being a podcaster?
Well, yeah. Well, we got to slot these people into where they fit in the puzzle, though. It doesn't have to be the right answer. It just has to make sure that it makes everything else matter as well.
Okay.
We could probably use Genevieve in other spots too.
Now, let me talk about one that we skipped over that I do think, and it's odd because we talked about how much of a multifaceted game Rachel has played, but I do think she would be the most likely to win Twish, especially out of the group that is left right now. Her or Andy.
Yeah. Okay. Andy would be a good Twish candidate as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for Rachel. I think we could use Andy in some different spots.
Okay.
Andy's kind of the multi-tool of this game here.
He could get the CO award.
Yeah, let's find a spot for Kyle. Where's Kyle gonna go?
Okay. So he could disappear and never be heard from again.
I just don't see
he
Kyle
could be
being
a bitter juror also.
Oh, he could. Especially against somebody like Sue, right? Like Sue. How dare you? And Sue's like, what? We weren't.
I still wonder because what Kyle told you and I, Rob, was like when he was on the island, Sue was nothing but nice to him.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be a bitter juror
unless he finds out through Ponderosa. He'll be like, oh my god, you won't believe the shit Sue was saying behind your back.
Yeah, I do think that Kyle could get the CO award also.
Okay, let's give it to Kyle. Let's get it. We gotta start slotting
give Kyle the CO award.
Yeah.
Most likely to disappear and never be heard from again. I could see Tiana.
I mean, she's flying a lot. She's not a lot of cell signal in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We still have most likely to get kicked out of the group text. We haven't used Rome yet.
I was gonna say, did we go back to what we first
came
suggested?
Back full circle.
Okay, and now we have our RHAP connections, Asia and Andy.
Well, what categories do we have left?
Most likely to charge the most for the cameo. What's Andy's cameo up to right now?
Honestly, I think that Asia can't be a bitter juror. So I think that we only have 2 spots.
We can move something else.
I mean, Asia would be most likely to guest on the Bitter Jurors podcast.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if she hasn't already.
I'd be a little surprised.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to put Andy in the Bitter Juror spot, we got to find a different spot for Andy.
Yeah, that's true as well. It's now
Asia can't have that spot.
It's a slide puzzle, right? Where now we have to put Andy in somewhere and move somebody out. The multi-tool effect has.
All right.
We need to find a more bitter juror than Andy that we can move into that spot.
Could Gabe be a bitter juror?
Absolutely.
Okay, because if we move Gabe into the bitter juror, that opens up teacher's favorite for Andy.
Yeah, teacher's favorite for Andy.
I mean, Andy did tell Jeff unprompted that he loved him when he was at his lowest moment.
But then that still insinuates that Asia's charging the most for a cameo. And I'm just like,
I don't think she is.
Yeah, no, that's not Asia's
So then
spot.
I would say, maybe this is a little unrealistic, but hell, let's wishcast here. I say put Genevieve in most likely to charge the most for a cameo and put Asia in On Fire.
Okay, because maybe she's like, oh, like I thought I was charging in Canadian dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
I made it $65 Canadian, I thought.
this is Genevieve that has been telling us all season that she basically can turn off the ability to like people. And so I can imagine like Genevieve does not want to do a bunch of these cameos. Like,
Is Genevieve going to get caught on the Big Brother live feed saying that she scripts out the same thing for every cameo that she does?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So here we go. Here's our superlatives. I think we did a good job.
I think we were able to settle on it.
All right. Most likely to get kicked out of the group text, Rome. Most likely to be an off-base bitter juror against someone who helped their game, Gabe.
Yeah.
Most likely to make the Zaddy calendar, Saul. Most likely to decline the call for 50, John. Most likely to disappear and never be heard from again, Tiana. Most likely to interrupt someone's Instagram live to cause drama, Annika. Most likely cast member not for David versus Life to make a cameo on White Lotus, Sierra. Most likely to charge the most for a cameo, Genevieve. Most likely to host On Fire, Asia. Most likely to win Twitch, Rachel. Most likely to be on the challenge, TK. Most likely to win the CO award if it was still being awarded, Kyle. Most likely to accidentally post a spoiler on social media, Sue. Most likely to be a secret billionaire, Kishan. Teacher's favorite, Andy. Most likely to have eaten a bat if Jeff took away the rice negotiations, it's Caroline. Most likely to join in on Chappell O'Clock is Sam. Most likely shook losing finals during the after show, Teeny. Wow.
We did it.
We did it. We nailed it.
Yes, look at us now. Print the yearbook, and now
I was gonna say I don't know. I might issue a retraction. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like how do we feel about those last two spots now that we look at the whole board?
You want to switch Teeny and you think that Sam is gonna be a shook losing finalist?
That's a good point. Let's say Sam gets to the end with Rachel, and like you were saying, Rob, he does the fire against somebody, right? Rachel takes Sam to the end, so he doesn't get a chance to do his fire, but he's like, I could still win this. And he finds out very quickly that people are saying what a lot of the people at home are saying, which is, what has Sam really done? Maybe that could be the thing that kind of that could be his villain origin story or something.
I think if and when we unfortunately get that part of the after show where Jeff says, all right, so-and-so, how are you feeling right now? You just lost out. I feel like Sam would be the most likely to have like a really downtrodden reaction.
You could just see Charlie and Sam right now. That's all. You can see the Charlie moment coming.
I think if Teeny gets to the finals, I think Teeny already knows at this point, probably losing to Rachel. Even though Teeny got upset a couple of weeks ago that, what, you think Rachel can beat me, Genevieve? If Sam gets to the end, I think he's got a pretty good shot. And then if he doesn't win, I think he's more likely to be shook at not winning.
I love that for us, it was a couple weeks ago, and for Teeny in the game, it was what, 3 days ago? It was like also, 3 days ago. Teeny's like, what, Rachel? Now it's like, wait, Rachel.
Teeny will not be looking shook because the minute that champagne gets brought out, they're like, fantastic.
It's a wrap. Chappell O'Clock, baby. Shout out to Teeny.
Give me that bottle. Go. Screw the glass.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, most likely to join in Chappell O'Clock is Teeny, and most likely shook losing finalists during the after show is Sam. Mike, that's a great segue to our after show predictions.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. Now, I'm always wondering, especially when we get to the odd numbered season, the first season in the shooting schedule year, do we ever think that there will be any tweaks to the after show format? This is the 2-part finale. This is like a little bit different. Do you think that there will be any substantial changes to what we've seen from Survivor 41 through 46?
I don't think so, because at this point, I think Jeff is feeling the way he felt about a lot of things in the new era, which is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, that said, they did end up changing something like Mergatory, which he did enjoy up until this point, to reflect something a little bit different. So maybe they will, but I think at least the way to tease a little bit, I do have an interview coming out with Jeff tomorrow, and he said, like, yeah, it's an emotional, humor-filled after show. So I still think he likes capturing that in-the-moment feeling, trying to wrap everything up around a nice old box of pizza with idle clues festooned underneath it and plenty of champagne to boot.
Okay. All right. So then if we have a good sense of what it's going to be, let's start to play out how we think it's going to go.
All right. So let's do this. Let's each bring up one subject we think will be the focus of a segment on the Survivor 47 after show. Could be a move, could be like a person in their legacy, could be an overall theme of the show.
All right, topics for discussion. Are we going to keep going around as we each have 2?
I like that.
Okay, all right, Chappell, you kick it off.
I have no clue what we're talking about. What happened?
Okay, you follow what me and Mike are doing, and then you give us one, okay?
Let's go.
All right, Mike, you start.
I mean, Thank you for giving me first pick, Rob. I gotta go with the low-hanging fruit here. Whether or not Sam has tried it in his life, Operation Italy, I think, is going to far and away be, and maybe it'll be part of a Jeff saying there were some huge power shifts and blindsides this season, but we gotta talk about the Parmesan cheese on top of this metaphoric pasta dish, Operation Italy.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good call back to a big moment of the season. I think continuing with Andy, I think we're going to spend some time talking about day 3. Andy, you had an emotional moment. And I think just day 3 meltdown, Andy's journey, I think is going to be a topic of the conversation.
Yeah, I think they might even bring up Rome. I think that he's not there, but I think that.
Oh,
Rome
you know what?
is
Actually,
gonna
let's put a pin in this. Maybe we'll do a separate category of which pre-merger is the most likely to get brought up in the after show.
It's a coin toss between Kashan and Rome at this point, right? But I think that all these people have one thing in common. They all voted out Rome. And I think that he was such a big character for all of the season prior to this point. I guess obviously the jury segment and the merge and stuff, that I think that there's no way that Jeff doesn't at least be like, remember Rome? That's a thing that happened. I can see it.
I wonder, do we talk about Sue's idol?
The red paint.
The red paint idol.
Idol. Yeah, I think now, I guess the question is, would it be specific to Sue, or will it be a segment of like, and we saw all these idols and advantages, and maybe that's when you bring up like the Saul advantage, and Saul comes clean, being like, I was the one who had that advantage.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big moment, especially if Rachel's the winner. But I do think they love to talk about like, oh, and then you found this idol, and then you found the idol. I mean, even in Survivor 46, they were talking about like Tiffany, like, how did you find your idol? And we flash back to that.
We're gonna talk about Rachel's immunity run. I think that's probably something that we gotta talk about. Like, Rachel, you almost tied the record for the most blah 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 blah. Like, I could see it happening.
I think we're going, because my assumption is Sue is going to make the final 3. I think we're going to get a segment dedicated to the assumed fact that she will reveal her real age at the final tribal council, and like what her representing her demographic means. We might get even like a Caroline Franny-esque moment of like, you were my closest person out here, you've changed my life, etc., etc.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything about the sanctuary? You think any of those moments? We went to the sanctuary a few times in this season.
Well, how about this is a question? How much, like, at what time in this 2-hour
let's do
finale? That. Okay. Give me the time. The Survivor after show starts when?
I am going to say, let's go with 10:12 p.m.
10:12. Okay.
Oh no, sorry, 9:12. 9:12. I forgot it was a 2 hour.
Sorry, 9:12. Yeah, 9:12. 9:12. I've got the over on that. I think it starts later. What do you think, Chappell?
Okay, I guess I'll take the under then. Because what else what are we showing? Like,
okay,
like if it's the Rachel win, what are we doing?
We're going to go right into Final Four Immunity Challenge. Then we're going to come back, and then we're going to get ready for who's going to make the fire. Then we're going to have our fire making. Then we'll have our final 3 breakfast. Then we'll have our final tribal council and vote reveal. So I feel like that we're probably getting like I think like an hour 20 out of that stuff.
See, if it's the Rachel coronation, I don't know if we get all that. I think it's just kind of like let's hurry up and get to the
it'll be interesting to see, because we usually see in the 3-hour finale after the final 5 vote, aka when voting is actually done in the game of Survivor, it almost immediately just cuts to the final 4 immunity challenge. I wonder if we start the episode with the final 4 immunity challenge, or if we're gonna get some sort of like back from Cam. Maybe we'll get an explanation as to why Teeny did not vote with the majority for the umpteenth time, got turned around and voted for Sam, and then we cut to the challenge, which could add a little bit of extra time onto it.
Do you think that we'll get another Jeff setup of like, all right, tonight it's the final 4?
That was jarring. Knowing that this was part 1 of the finale that we just did, I was not ready for Jeff to do his patented intro setup for the finale, because again, we're going to do the finale again. So I don't know. I would like it less if he does it twice. Like if he does it the second time, I don't like it.
I think we're going to get the VO. I think we're going to get a previously on Survivor, and then And now for the conclusion. Who will take
Mhm.
home the prize? I don't know if they're going to do the one-er again of Jeff walking through the tribal council set. What I will say, I miss. Again, they've changed a lot, I think, for the better from Survivor 41 and 42. But God, I miss when they did those projections of
Mhm.
GIFs of the final 5 on the logs and all the stuff
Yeah.
behind Jeff on the set. Please bring that back, CBS.
You like that? Yeah.
I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah. People called in on the patron show and brought this up about that. It was a little too much recap on the 2-hour episode on Wednesday night. It was like Jeff set it all up, and then we did previously on Survivor after that.
Yeah, because he's not supposed
Like,
to do it in this
we got
spot.
the setup.
And it's also tough because, well, Jeff, I think, gave a little bit more of the macro of like, these are the 2 big themes of the season, which I also thought was interesting because he said the 2 big themes of the season were ever-shifting power and socially savvy gameplay. And the 2 votes in that episode, arguably, we had ever-shifting power in that Rachel, who was left out of Operation Italy and now almost single-handedly takes out Andy. And then you have a little bit of like the social savvy gameplay of, do we believe Genevieve when she says she has a fake? Is she double bluffing us? And then they sort of went into, but we kind of also have to talk about Operation Italy because it was such a big deal.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so Chappell, you mentioned it before. Choose your champion here. Which pre-merger will be referenced in the after show by somebody still in the game?
It's hard because on the one hand, I don't think you can talk to Saul without mentioning the whole Rome thing. Like, I think that Saul's dying to be like, wasn't that crazy how he followed me around? Not to mention, we did end up getting Genevieve following Rachel around just like that in this episode, but it felt a little different when Genevieve did it. But if you go to
and
Genevieve,
also someone reacting to Genevieve saying they were threatening them.
Right. But if you go to Genevieve and say, Genevieve, tell me about your story. Genevieve's first word is Kishan, like immediately, right? So I'm gonna go with Kishan. But it's just Rome was such a big character,
Okay.
Love him or hate him, he was the star of the pre-merge.
I'm going to go in a different direction. I don't think that they bring up Rome as a topic, but I do think we cannot talk about Rachel's win without talking about Tiana.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I was going to say Annika. Like, I think if we cut to the Rachel journey, I think she will very clearly make a name drop of, after I lost Annika, that was the first of the 3 times I was blindsided, and I learned that I wasn't, I had to adapt while I was on the fly.
Fair. No, it's good points.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know. You could get a spare John Lovett throw in by Andy if you're talking about the day 3 meltdown, to your point, Rob.
Yeah, it's possible. Okay. And then we'll get our Survivor 48 preview. Mike, do we know anything at this hour about Survivor 48?
I mean, I know a fair amount about
I
this.
guess so. I guess public. Okay, sorry. How about this? Has there been anything announced about Survivor 48?
The premiere date is coming in February,
26th,
but
right.
90-minute episodes are continuing. How about this, guys? We did this last time, and maybe I'll pass this on because I was able to somehow hit it on the nose, and I did not know about the bat logo. I just threw out an animal, and I landed on bat, much like Caroline did in that superlative we gave her. You guys maybe each put in a guess of like what will be the central totem of the Survivor 48 logo. We've got birds, we got bats, we had that guy drowning holding the torch in 41, the maze.
Yeah, that was funny. I like that one. I like the guy drowning. That was fun. I don't know. Because there's so many options, right? And then we've had animals that we've used before. Like, do they go back to an animal we've already seen before? Is this going to be a new one? I don't know.
I will say it's a new one.
All right. Ooh.
Oh,
okay.
That helps.
I feel like that we have a lot of cutaways to spiders. I feel like that. I don't know if we've ever done that in the logo.
Okay. Antonio Mazzaro's worst nightmare, a spider-filled logo.
Okay. I don't know. This is hard. There's so many animals. I got nothing. Maybe it's coconuts. Maybe there's coconuts.
Coconuts.
Yeah.
Coconuts spelling out
The chat
48.
says a shark, a crab.
Oh, okay. I think a shark would be. We haven't done shark before.
We had sharks in Palau. If that
Okay,
counts.
yeah.
And we had gecko a little bit in 46 as well.
I did like the geckos. Those were fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with what was it? Animal, mineral, and plant or whatever. I'm gonna go with either coconut. I'm gonna go with coconut.
Here's another question, and maybe this is a bit more subjective. Who will be the best dressed on the jury?
Oh.
And I guess this is technically an after show question because they will be wearing that outfit through the after show as well. Who will be dressing for the reunion they wish they could attend.
Sierra been stunning on them all season. Ever since the jury segment has started, Sierra has been showing up and showing out every time. Saul bust out with the shirtless vest thing, and then he kind of came back a little bit. He didn't really.
Gates had some wild looks too.
Do you think that maybe was Saul talked to of like, you are attracting way too much attention? I know your name is Saul, but you're like the sun here. You're drawing a lot of eyes.
Yeah,
put a shirt
Stop
on,
being so hot on the jury.
Right.
Andy had kind of like a normal like Tommy Bahama shirt for his thing, but I wonder if he has a final tribal council outfit.
Nah, Andy's not.
I hope it's like a jumpsuit.
Yeah, he's not stepping out like that.
like a Squid Game.
No, I know, like a romper. You know, like a
onesie.
If Sam is on the jury, Sam's another one to watch. You could tell he be dressing, but I don't think we have a lot of options because a lot of them are kind of chill on the jury. They're not really showing up and having their moment like I thought they would.
I will give more of a low key mention here. I feel like Caroline is going to serve. And maybe it's the pairing of sort of the demeanor. Like, I thought she killed it when she walked in after her blindside and she just gave the absolute stone face, despite the fact that, again, she is like the Unikitty of Survivor 47 and just her effortless positivity. And so I think that sort of behavior is going to manifest in the way she dresses as well to just come across as an overall ensemble.
Okay. We'll see on Wednesday night. Mike, anything else you want to set up going into the finale?
No, I don't think so. Because again, we don't know how this is all going to time out. I know this is something that Lindsay Delashewich brought up on the B&B, which is like, maybe with 2 hours, they're going to apportion more time to, as we talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, exploring some more personal stuff for people like Rachel, perhaps a little bit belatedly. Or maybe we're just going to rush through the motions and this basically was just a 4-hour episode cut in twain. I'm not entirely sure, but regardless, especially getting to relitigate this season a bit, it has been such a fun experience. Like, how lucky are we to have such a different time than we did in Survivor 46, but to me, a still incredibly enjoyable experience in a completely different way. It's gonna be sad to sunset this one, but hey, we have a card game coming our way in January to tide us over until Survivor 48. The coconuts and crabs coming in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. Chappell, anything else on your mind heading into the finale?
I forgot about the preview for 48, and I am so excited again. You know, that's the thing about Survivor. You got another Survivor coming up, and last time we had a big reveal with Asia. God knows what they're going to do this time. So
I was going to say, well, remember 46 was a weird one. 46 was it was no on-island content. It was only audition video stuff. Are we going to get something weird again with the 48 video?
I want that. I want it. I love the preview because it gets you hype again for the season. You know, it gives us something to kind of just hold on to for the next couple weeks. We can analyze it. I know all the people, the edit readers are going to start right then looking at, okay, who got this confessional? When did it happen? I'm ready. Thank you so much, Mike. You're great. Thank you for being here with us because you got me reinvigorated for the next season of Survivor already, and we ain't even done with this one.
Wow.
No, the pleasure is all mine.
Mike, your power.
Listen. This is a great 2-hour compliment sandwich of a podcast. I have to say, I was so happy to be here as per usual. I mean, incredibly tough act to follow. That wand off was freaking magnifique.
That was a wild night last week.
So I know I could not hold a candle to it whatsoever, but hey, happy to come in with my soot-filled face and try to spark a little bit of a kindling to get us pumped for what should be a fun 2 hours of Survivor, no matter what the outcome is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Mike, what exciting things do you have coming up, including the B&B this week?
Yeah, so we've got some traditional exciting stuff and then some new exciting stuff that I will tease for you. Something old, something new, because God knows I am married to my content at this point. I'm like a Duggar, I suppose. No, I guess the Duggars aren't polygamous. But anyway, on with the Mormon references. So from the usual stuff that I do, as I mentioned before, the B&B. So we had Omer and Lindsay on, fittingly a 6th and a 5th placer, talking about a 6th and a 5th placer, but also, do not mistake coincidence for fate, but in my preseason interviews with Andy and Genevieve, when I asked who do they identify with the most, Andy said Omer, and Genevieve said Lindsay. So that was very fun to sort of talk with like their Survivor 42 facsimiles. It was Lindsay's debut. She brought along a friend as well, a special ghost, or should I say special guest, to the podcast. And Omer brought his incredible animal comparison game that I know everyone's been waiting to find out who is who. So be sure to check that out. And we'll be joined by the Washington Post TikTok's very own Dave Jorgensen for the finale this coming weekend. Of course, I had chats with Andy and Genevieve, both very fantastic chats with very fantastic people. You can check that out over at parade.com. And I will be talking with the final four the day after the finale as well. Over on the scripted TV side of things, I am, of course, covering Battlestar Galactica every week with Josh Wigler. And those of you who have been following Down the Hatch know this week was a very fun episode of Battlestar Galactica. We're going to be a little bit late on it this week, but we wanted to, I was sitting Shiva in a manner of speaking before I could come back to the mic and talk about it. Those who know. Other than that, I'm also covering Silo with Grace Leader, and then a couple of new exciting things that I will announce as well. So first off, on the scripted TV side of things, I mean, you guys really, I would say, probably brought me to life as I was dancing through life talking about Wicked in the beginning. But the truth of the matter is, it's been in my brain for a little while now because I just recorded a podcast talking about Wicked, both our overall thoughts on the film as well as how it's holding space in a manner of speaking in the world a month later. I did that with a really electric panel of myself, Grace Leader, Mari Forth, and Shannon Gus. That should be coming in the next week or so. And then another scripted thing is coming out very soon. And you know what? Let's break this exclusive here because we're doing plenty of that today. You can't do much Squid Game coverage without the man behind Sir Squidington, can you? And so I am elated to announce that I will be joining one Chappell on covering Squid Game Season 2 coming to Netflix December 26th.
Hey, if you're not subscribed to the Nothing But Netflix podcast, and you didn't know that, so subscribe to Nothing But Netflix and then tune in because Mike and I are going to be talking about Season 2 every day. Every day, we're going to bring a different podcast about each episode of Squid Game. And so, prepare.
What do you think? Ken McNichol loves a test, so I imagine he'd actually be good about. He'd love Squid Games.
Yeah.
Tune in.
They don't listen to a lot of vinyl, but
and this
they do play vinyl. Actually, there's a moment perhaps early in Season 2 where they play a memorable vinyl. But so we're going to be doing daily podcasts. There's 7 episodes of Squid Game Season 2, so we'll bring you a week straight of them. And without saying too much, I can say that Rob Cesternino will be joining us for episode 1.
We'll kick it off. Okay. All right, so get ready for daily Squid Game coverage coming next week, or I guess it's 26th, when Squid Game drops. Okay.
Yeah, so what we could call that the aperitif to the Survivor card game coming January 12th. We should say the nice, the crisp Caesar salad to that tiramisu.
The tiramisu.
And the other thing I'll plug, Rob, shortly coming after that, the beginning of that podcast, is that it's a time-honored tradition. We're coming up on, believe it or not, Rob, 5 years of doing the end of year 2020 blank brand steal, where we take some of the biggest people, characters, moments, memes, objects, throw them in a simulated season of reality TV together and have them battle it out to see who remains supreme. Of course, on social media today, I put out the call, sent out the bat signal that Caroline promptly grabbed and ate in response to hear about who you all would like to nominate. So look up me on social media at a Mike Bloom type. Let your voice be heard. We'll collate the responses and put together a cast that should be coming out towards the end of the year as we send off. Well, this year was like top tier in terms of Survivor. It's a very odd year in the timeline of humanity. So I'm excited to break it down through the lens of a brand steal.
All right. Looking forward to that coming later this month. All right, Chappell, and what's going on for you?
Well, Mike already mentioned Nothing But Netflix, so people got to go subscribe at Nothing But Netflix on all, whatever, all platforms or whatever, all podcast platforms. But listen, go follow Nothing But RHAP on Twitter if you want to keep up with that stuff. When I update it, it'll be updated. It'll tell you all the things coming because this week Rob and I will be joined by, a few guests to talk about Aaron Rodgers and his Enigma show on Nothing But Netflix. So
Quite
that
an
should be
enigma.
fun. Yeah, it drops in
Wrapped in a riddle.
Which one
Yeah.
of the superlatives do you think Aaron Rodgers would most likely? Should we do like the superlatives for the 32
Most
quarterbacks
likely
in
to
the
be kicked
NFL?
out of the group chat.
I'm kicking him out the group chat immediately, but
Mhm.
you're going to hear all of that and more from us on Nothing But Netflix. So check that out. And then on my podcast, Recap Kickback, you can come catch me and Mari talking about whatever. This week, we're going to finish our recap of the show Cross on Amazon Prime. We did the premiere with Jason Reed, and so Jason Reed will be back so we can talk about the rest of the season. And so check that out. Tyrone will be joining me to talk about The Madness starring Coleman Domingo. Also on Recap Kickback, G and I already have our podcast episode up for the mid-season finale of Abbott Elementary. So go check that out. And we're bringing some Christmas coverage. How to Ruin Christmas. G and I are going to be going through each of those. Check it out. All on recapkickback.com. And then, of course, catch me on We Know Scripted TV talking to Sasha Joseph about sex lives of college girls. We're about halfway through. I guess we're doing batches of 2. So we've done 4 episodes so far. Join us for the next 2 when we drop that on We Know Scripted TV.com. And then, Rob, I don't know when it's going to drop, but I talked about The Traders. We're previewing the season of The Traders, and I got to be the special guest to talk about Danielle Reyes and what she
we've got
might do.
Traders previews coming up once we get through the Survivor season. So we got a fun podcast series. Puya and I have been recording some Traders previews for you coming up. So look for that later on this week.
I am looking through these superlatives, and I actually do feel like Aaron Rodgers would be the one to most likely show up on the White Lotus, because he does kind of feel like a White Lotus character in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, but like not cast on there. He would just be in the background when some wild stuff is happening.
Yeah, like suntanning naked.
Yeah, he's definitely getting his ass ate. He's one of those people. But yeah, check it out. Check out and me in all those places. And then of course follow me on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback to keep up with what else I have going on. That's it.
Okay. All right, and then check out my interview with Drew Basile from this weekend. Very fun one as well.
I love Drew. I know that some people like to consider him a stretched out Mike Bloom, but I consider myself a squashed down Drew Basile personally.
Yeah, one of my faves from the new era to talk to. So glad he made some time for that. And so we love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.